Hello, everybody. Hanz here. Good to see all of you. Hope you're having a Merry Christmas. I would be with my family, but I am currently on call for work, so I have to stay in the area. So I don't get my vacation for another couple days. So I decided to bless you all with the stream. Merry Chrysler indeed. And I set up a conversation with Ahrelevant about his dating and relationship takes. Thanks, you like it? Got the drip. So, got the drip. So, let's reach out to him. Oh. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me? You good for cams or no?
No, I can without cams are fine.
Okay. You don't get to see. You don't get to see my drip. It's sad.
Do you got good drip?
Yeah, you want to see it?
Sure.
Yeah. Check out my.
If you want to put up the cam, I can try and do it. Hey, nice.
You like it?
Yeah.
They're herons.
How to do this? I remember there is a way to bring this up on. Oh, here I think. Yeah. Okay.
Nice. Nice. All right, let me put you up as well.
Oh, do you want me to share? Here, I'll share mine.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Only issue I have is when I do shit on Discord, it puts my camera in lower quality.
I know what you mean. I don't know why it does that. It's like
Yeah, it's rather annoying.
yeah, it's okay though. If you don't want to do that for yours, maybe just like for the there we go. It's up.
Let's see if I can't work this a little better.
For glasses, have you always gone with the round ones? Because these are like the blue lights I use for when I'm streaming on the computer. But I have different glasses that are also sort of round. Do you ever did you settle on those, or did you think?
Yeah, when I started caring a little bit more about the way I look, I decided for round glasses.
They look nice. Because the rectangle glasses normally make you look like very businesslike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked a lot more nerdy than I do, and not in a good way, when I wore rectangular. My brother still has them, and I'm not a fan of them.
Are you? Is your brother like a twin brother or like older, younger?
Identical twin.
That's hilarious. Have you both been on stream? Have you ever had a stream where he pretended to be you?
Oh no, not where he pretended to be me, but he was on stream recently to play a video game.
Nice. Hell yeah, that sounds like fun. I've gotten. I keep trying to get my brothers to play games on stream with me, but both of them are big Pokemon nerds, so they don't play a lot of the games that I play. Yeah. My older brother is insanely good at Pokemon Nuzlocke. He does the special challenge runs and the modded games and stuff. So, but
that's cool.
I don't have and they both do competitive. I don't have the stomach for it. It just takes so long. You have to breed your team and shit and everything. It takes hours. I can't do that. It's too much for me. I'm a TFT enjoyer. You still play Dota?
Not as much as I used to. Pretty much just Tarkov, Path of Exile, and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, my friend got into Tarkov, but I never did because I never had a good computer like to ever like play shooters
Mm-hmm.
until I'd say probably summer of 2020, right before I started streaming because I got my first big boy job and I got like my first paycheck and I blew it all like on this like computer from iBuyPower. It was really fun. It was like 2.5 grand. I was like, go for it, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's great now, but I was by that time I was a Nintendo kid growing up, so I never got the skills to like do FPSs ever. I'm so fucking bad at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, that's gonna definitely be a problem for like getting shooters are very difficult to get into if you haven't been into them most of your life because it's pretty much just play the game in order to get better at aiming.
mm-hmm.
And for most of them, like there isn't really like a lot of strategy in a lot of shooters. More modern, a lot of the more new ones like Valorant and stuff have a fair bit of strategy, but they can only take you so far.
Mm-hmm.
Being good at shooting is in the mechanical, like being good with the mouse is like 90% of it. So
That's fair. Maybe I do better at shooters now, like on PC, because I remember trying to play on an Xbox. We got an Xbox
oh yeah.
360, I think when I was like 14 or 15, and my brother loved it, but I just never touched it because I was like, I suck at it. Shooting was so hard. I remember playing Skyrim on the PC and then playing Skyrim on the Xbox 360. It's like I was an archer on the PC and I just couldn't fucking aim to save my life on the
Yeah, the joysticks are very bad to aim with if you're used to a mouse. Yeah.
yeah. But it's
All
good to
right,
see you.
brother.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Also, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I saw the first hour and a half of your debate, and I think
Okay.
I finished the conversation with whoever whoever Chud's mod or whoever that is.
Yeah.
So I guess I had a couple clarifying questions for you,
Sure.
and then we can go further into some stuff. So when you're talking about mental manipulation,
Yep.
can you give some more concrete examples as to like what types of mental manipulation are like helpful or good, or like good at like getting people to like have sex with you?
Um, Gaslighting. So an example that I give for men and women, and this is pretty universally true, depending on whatever it is lying that I'm more important than I am, like lying up my social status, lying about how much money I have. For women, it could be if you want a relationship with a man, lying about your body count. It could be lying about your past experiences. It could be lying about how much you care about specific things. There's some white lies that I talked about with I think Chud. I think it was Chud, or maybe it was somebody more privately, but it was about like there was white lies about like embellishing how much you care about certain things that other people care about. Like, let's say if I don't give a fuck about traveling, but I'm really into this chick, so I'm gonna act like I care a little bit more about traveling than I do. Those are kinds of forms of manipulation that you can use to get people to like. Oh, most common one I would say, maybe not most common, but probably one of the most effective for men is to lie that you want a relationship with a woman when you really don't. I'd say that's probably one of the most common that men do, unfortunately, to women. But,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um, I agree with like all those examples, with one exception for the embellishing how much you care. Is there a difference between say just being like a great listener versus embellishing how much you care? Because say I
yeah,
personally
sure, of course.
okay, because like I personally don't care about Tarkov, but if you want to talk about Tarkov, I could listen to you talk about Tarkov. I don't think I'm manipulating you by doing that, right?
No, 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 no. What I would say is like misleading you with how much like I don't mean to put the brother on blast or whatever, but there's Darius at one point when he was doing his Tinder streams. What he would do is he would say, "Oh, I love something that a girl on Tinder said that she likes in her bio," and he would be like, "Oh, I love it," and he would just go on Reddit real quick, and then like look up some shit about it, like copy something from a Reddit thread and throw it in there or whatever. And it was a bit of a joke for him or whatever content, but if there are people that unironically do that to try and get women, right, and don't do it for like content or for memes, And I think that is a form of manipulation. If you are completely faking interest and you're like taking other people's shit from Reddit threads to act like you've watched stuff in the hopes that somebody likes you, I'd say that is pretty shitty.
What if you just what if you are just like decidingly neutral about something and you just decide to go on the Reddit to get a quick understanding of what the fuck they're talking about, right? Because like say if I'm a girl and I'm interested in you and you're talking about Tarkov, if I go quick like into the Tarkov subreddit or like the Wikipedia page just to look at it, is that manipulation? Because I know more than because I'm not personally interested in it, but I'm learning more so I could like have a better
Well,
conversation with you.
so I guess it would be the intent. So
Okay.
in one instance, the intent is I just want this person to like me, so I am going to act like I have an interest in this. And in the other one, it's like, oh, okay, I think this person's pretty cool. I might, and so therefore, maybe some of their hobbies might be interesting to me. I'm gonna look into their hobbies, see if they're interesting to me, and then if they are, they are, and if they aren't, they aren't. The big difference would be that if the person that goes on Reddit and just copies the thing, even if it's not interesting to them, they're going to act like it's interesting to them. But the person who isn't really interested in it and might look into it, if it's genuinely not interesting to you, then it's not going to be generally interesting to them, and they're not going to embellish their experience with that content.
Okay.
I would hope.
What if, like, for say, like a longer, for a relationship, if, let's say, just for example, we're dating, and I don't care about Tarkov at all,
Yep.
but I periodically play it just so I can understand like what you're talking about when you do it, and my intent is I'm really doing this partial like to satisfy you as my partner.
Sure.
I would consider that a bog standard thing that people in relationships do to strengthen ties with each other and I don't consider that manipulation, even though like you're not say I'm not enjoying playing Tarkov, but I'm enjoying say spending time with you. Like I had an old girlfriend like
Sure.
this who they would play Teamfight Tactics with me. They didn't like Teamfight Tactics, but they liked spending time with me, and that was an
Sure.
easy way to do it, right?
Yeah, as long as they are being well. Also, I feel like there's now a different context where the relationship has already begun, and I feel like that is significantly different than what I was primarily discussing, which is like attempting to get someone to like you under the false pretense of things that you don't really like.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, if we keep to me and you, let's say I was trying to woo you and you like team fight tactics and I don't like it at all, and I act like I love team fight tactics, come look up a bunch of information about it. I feel like that's a bad thing to do. I
Okay.
feel like that is because worst case scenario, or sorry, one of a realistic scenario that might happen is we bond over that, and then later at some point I'm going to have to admit to you I actually fucking hate this game and I actually don't want to really play it with you, or it's going to make me miserable if I don't do it, whatever. So I think it's a really shitty thing to do.
Okay. What about stuff that you are completely neutral about that you're just willing to try? Like say like we go ice skating because you like
Okay.
it, and I like is that and you just keep doing it because they like it, but you're just figuring it out. So
That as long as you're honest about, yeah, I'm doing this to figure out if I like it and because you like it and shit like that. Yeah, it's just really about being honest about your relationship to whatever activity or hobby that your partner likes. I don't like the idea of people lying to potential partners or partners about their feelings towards their partner's hobbies, because I think it can realistically only end in disaster.
I would okay. I say this is probably our first major disagreement then, because I feel for a lot of relationships, your partner might have stuff that you just either don't care about or maybe you actively dislike their hobby, right? Like say,
Sure.
my partner is currently picking up crocheting, right? I fucking hate knitting. I can't do it. It makes my brain go crazy. But personally, they're never gonna ask me to do it with them, and my sitting activity normally if we're sitting and hanging out, I'm like normally either like reading a book or like playing video games, right? If it's just
Sure.
if it's just hanging out, I don't think there's any reason for me to say I fucking hate knitting. Like when my partner says it, only if they try to force me to do it, then I might take issue. But I think there's a part of like being honest versus just being like unnecessarily honest to be an asshole. Like my opinion of like whether or not I personally like crocheting doesn't matter like to my partner as long as they like it. So I probably wouldn't say, "Yo, I fucking hate crocheting." Like or crocheting is stupid, right? I feel like that's just unnecessarily being an asshole.
Well, you don't have to do that. If you hate crocheting, you can communicate it in a way that's emotionally sensitive. But I believe being dishonest about your relationship to your partner's hobbies is it will eventually catch up with you. Like, because somebody's going to be like, okay, let's crochet. And then you're going to be miserable because you actually really fucking hate crocheting. So being upfront with like, hey, look, I like you. I really care about you, but I'm not down with crocheting. This is not really something I like doing. Even with you, unfortunately, we could maybe find something else to do. I think that's going to result in a better situation long term.
Okay. And then, so I think so that's the end of that specific line of questioning.
Okay.
So in the initial part, you said that there's no need for men to accept women with trauma.
Okay. Yep.
Would you be willing to expand that to people have hard lines when it comes to dating, because dating is inherently exclusionary, and that's something that we're allowed to have, right? You're allowed to not date a woman with trauma. And I would say, conversely, if a woman doesn't want to, say, date a man because he talks strange, would you say that those are both lines that are like acceptable?
But I do believe I tried to expand upon later that
Okay.
when I'm talking about trauma, I'm talking about trauma that is that matters in the relationship, like checking your phone, being possessive, overly possessive. Obviously, there might be some things we could agree on
Mhm.
might be possessive in a relationship that wouldn't be considered overly possessive,
Right.
but and we would talk about the details of that and stuff like that that I would say is a realistic line to draw, not only for men but for women. But I was just talking about men at the time.
Okay.
I think if some dude is preventing you from wearing what you want when you go outside, I don't think you should date that guy.
Okay, that's fair. And for but I think you'd also say that for a lot of the trauma, it doesn't really expose itself until after you're already like
Yep.
in a sort of relationship with somebody. Um,
uh, sure.
like and someone might have trauma that doesn't like explicitly like expose itself in a relationship. Like
Yep.
I like you could say like I have a trauma from like a previous like sexual experience,
Mm-hmm.
but that's like it's really just related to men, so I just don't have sex with men anymore. But
Okay.
I'm currently dating like a non-binary like a born female person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't affect me at all. So I'm
Okay.
not so you're not bringing that sort of trauma into it. So that sort of like stuff is okay. It's more you're saying just like if it's bringing like bad behaviors into.
Yeah, I tried. So it was, to my knowledge, I didn't clarify early enough. I left it at trauma, which is way too ambiguous of a statement to leave out there. And I think people are right for jumping to conclusions off of something like that. It's just such a wildly, out there statement as that was. But if I believe I tried at one point or several points to state that it was primarily in regards to things like checking your
Okay,
phone without your permission, snooping,
right.
possibly like if they have past experiences that might make them, or not might make them like, I don't know, a serial cheater or something like that for
Hmm.
whatever reason, then these are not people you should be in a relationship with.
Okay,
You and I got responses about like you could work with them through your thing. I don't believe anybody has a responsibility or should even feel like they need to work with another person through their trauma.
oh,
People
I
can,
completely agree.
sure,
Yeah. um, but would you say that not dating someone with those problems might diminish your dating pool?
of course,
Okay.
obviously,
Yeah.
because there is people that have those traumas, and I would say probably a fair bit of people that probably, there is an astonishing amount of people that I've come to know, like snoop on each other's shit, that like
Hmm.
look at their phones and shit. Men and women, they do it all the time, and I think that I think many of those people can have a healthy relationship or whatever, but I think they really should figure their shit out first.
I got you. And what if, in terms of boundaries, if you're like, say, okay, like I'm okay with my partner looking through my phone because I don't really have anything to hide. Since we
Sure.
like became like we started open, but we've closed it recently to be more monogamous. So I don't
Hmm.
really have an issue with them looking through my stuff. But is that just more like doing it without like the consent of your partner?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course, doing it without the if you're a non-monogamous, like for instance, I would say if somebody's fucking other people, right?
Hmm.
And you're in a monogamous relationship, you should probably break up with that person. But if you're in a non-monogamous relationship, right,
Yeah,
then
doesn't
that's
matter.
fair play,
Yeah.
right? So it all depends on the what you've already agreed on.
Okay. And then for the, you said during like that debate as well, talking about how um, every man is encouraged to be like an absolute fucking asshole degenerate,
Yep.
like as for say the first 25 years of their life, and then like they'll find somebody who isn't broken and they'll settle down with them, right?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
Okay, so I believe that there is an incentive for men to have quick, casual relationships and experiences. We are rewarded for the frequency of our relationships. And in doing so, we are rewarded to perform such behaviors as to promote those quick relationships, which is unfortunately overlapping with abusive, manipulative behavior that gets us those quick relationships. And we need to provide young men a reason to not do that.
Okay. Um, I think I have a relatively decent suggestion for those young men.
Okay.
So I can agree with you if these are all one-off, socially isolated encounters. So I can agree with you that being like just trying to get the bag, just trying to get the pussy, right, is
Mm-hmm.
like the best if this is just like someone you've met on Tinder, someone that you're like never gonna have to interact with again if you like decide to dump them, right?
Sure.
But I would say the way that a lot of people naturally meet folks, whether it's say at bars or at work or at school,
Mm-hmm.
there is, even if you're entirely self-interested, there is still a reason to not behave like a fuckboy. Because, and I would say that if you have more than one interaction with a person, that you being a dickhead will hurt your social chances with other people in that peer group.
It absolutely can, but of what I've seen, it doesn't hurt it enough to actually stop the individual's behavior. And the reason why I believe this is because if what you said was true and it was like enough to stop the behavior, it would be stopped. Women currently do consistently talk about abusive men, narcissistic men. This guy was so shitty to me. But the problem keeps happening. These guys keep getting in more relationships. They keep going around the school. They keep causing problems. The problem would be solved if the problem could be solved by women talking, because women do.
So, and there are those men that do that, but I would say if
Yep.
you're being self-interested, being like a quote unquote good guy does help. I would say in terms of even like short-term sex. So like anecdote Andy for a second. In college, I was kind of passed around like a bong by a lot of girls, right? Like
Okay.
like my social groups. I was known as like a guy. I didn't really want relationships at that time, so I was a fuck boy, but I was a nice fuck boy. And so like
Hmm.
like one woman, I'd have sex with them, had a good time. I didn't rape them, da 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 da. And then
Hmm.
they were friends of mine. So when I went to other like parties with them, they would introduce their female friends to me, and like I sort of got a reputation as like, oh, this is a nice guy. He's not gonna fucking rape you. He's not gonna be insane. And I got so much more sex because I was
Hmm.
known as like the good guy that like you can
Hmm.
have a nice night with, and he's not going to do anything crazy. And if I had been like a dickhead, that never would have happened. So like I
Yeah,
wasn't.
that specific interaction would not have happened, correct? But do you believe that that's probably going to be significantly easier or harder to be mean, rude, and manipulative?
I would say for people in your peer group, it long term, it's like for say a period longer than say 3 months. Absolutely, it like it gave me more sex, and I
Well,
would
no,
and I,
I'm
and
not
I,
trying to.
and I would say
Okay,
for
sorry, go
sorry
ahead.
no, sorry you guys I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay, what I was gonna say in response to that isn't like that. Because let's even agree, because I'm not sure I do agree that you can have more sex, but let's assume that I'll grant that you can. It's about how easy it is to pitch to this group of people. Because my problem is, I think what I'm saying will happen. I think a lot of nice guys will get Tate pilled or whatever, inner whatever red pillar specific person. I think there's going to be a lot of genuinely good people that feel cheated or some shit by whatever system, and
Mhm.
then they're going to start treating women poorly because that's what they see online, women whatever in these compilations. saying that they want or gravitating towards.
Mhm.
And so they're going to do those things. And it's easy from their perspective to do. It's easy to be a bad person. It's
Okay.
hard to be a good person. And so providing them a reason to be a good person outside of even just that, if I agree, you have more sex, you need to provide them a reason that splits that gap of how easy it is to be a bad person versus it is hard to be a good person.
Okay. I think we might have to agree to disagree that the amount of effort that it takes to not be an asshole isn't a lot. Like I said, like just
Well,
sorry,
go ahead.
but like specifically for the like the social group interactions, like whether it's your workplace or your school, I can completely concede that like for the one-offs that you meet on dating apps and stuff like that, it's so much easier just like to fuck people and then like like ruin their lives and then just bounce out because like you don't have any overlapping social circles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
I'm trying to say that it's not that it's easy to not be an asshole. What I'm stating is that it's not easy to do what you described, which is be such a good and upstanding dude that and well liked, a likable guy, because it's not like you were just a good person. You were a likable person.
Yeah.
You were somebody that clearly had a good personality. You were charismatic. People liked talking to you. That is obvious. Okay?
Yeah.
That people liked to engage with you. That is a very difficult thing to do. And that is a very difficult thing for especially the groups of people that would be most susceptible to this argumentation.
Okay, so I got you. So it's like saying that like what I said, that like my strategy might not work for everybody because like there's certain qualifiers that you need to like reach for that to happen, but anyone can do like the asshole thing.
Yes, exactly. Anybody can be an asshole, but it is difficult to reach the level of good personality, good confidence, whatever you had. I don't know the exact.
I got the Riz.
The Riz, the level of Riz that you have. Like I would argue, it's probably physically unobtainable for me in my lifetime. I'm a very socially stunted person. I have a very difficult time with doing that shit. I'm probably never going to achieve that. But and if I was somebody that was susceptible to both sides of the argument, I would lean closer towards the selfish aspect because I'm not going to spend the next 20 years of my life trying to figure out how to be a nice dude only to be fucking 40 years old and then, wow, great, now I have a great personality, right? And so I think we need to provide them more reasons than just, even if I do agree that your good confidence, personality, and Riz caused you to get, let's say, more sex, more relationships, better relationships than being an asshole. We still need to provide a reason to bridge that gap.
Okay, so
to do the work.
So it's like, so we have to show them that it's both attainable for them, like as a counterpoint to, like the bad shit, right? And like help encourage, like make sure that they know that it's possible. And then in regards to your social stunting, I wanted to talk to you about this too.
Yep.
So you're a pretty charismatic guy, right? Like you're a
when I'm talking to people online, I would say
okay.
I am.
And you said like it's like related to debates, but this is like, I mean, we're debating like certain points, but this is still like sort of a conversation. This sort of like, say, maybe like an adversarial conversation, that sort of style can work in social settings. And what for you personally, what's the hardest part of transferring what you're doing right now to say like if we're sitting like across from each other, like if I invite you over and I make you dinner and we're sitting at like my table back there, what's the difference?
If it's me and you, nothing. But the if you're talking about like I don't really know you, the difference is I don't really know you. I'm not really comfortable in IRL circumstances where you don't really know what I do. You don't know what my positions are. I don't know what your positions are. I don't know if what I'm going to say is going to upset you. My real big problem is I just don't want to upset people. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to bring down the vibe. I don't want to ruin somebody's day or make it worse. That is the last thing that I want to do. And I feel like that is a very easy thing to do in my experience for whenever I talk to people. It's very easy for me to bring down the vibe, for me to kill the vibe. And so it presents like a very difficult situation for me to do that.
Okay. So the two things for that is one, if you kind of have to be okay with striking out in conversations for
I know.
Yeah. Because like sometimes like you'll say something and it totally kills the vibe, right? Like and that's not a unique to you thing. That's like that's an everyone thing. Like a lot of people are nervous about. But I would also say that if you never rock the boat, you're never gonna sail, right? Like you're not gonna if you
I think a problem is people have a misconception about me that I'm doing
okay.
absolutely nothing.
I
I've been
I'm not saying you're doing nothing.
okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
continue.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing is, I am actively trying to do it. I
Hmm.
recognize that there's never going to be a conversation that I have that's going to give me a silver bullet on how to talk to people. It's
Hmm.
why I'm not like watching red pill PUAs on how to pick up women or
Hmm.
anything like that. They're not going to tell you how to be able to have these conversations. You have to go out there, do it, make some mistakes, figure out how to do it. What's your vibe? What are you allowed to get away with? What are you not allowed to get away with? How is these things going to interact? And when I'm talking about get away with, I'm
Hmm.
talking about like, hey, can I initiate with talking about yay? Can I initiate
Hmm.
with talking about certain political events? Maybe in a certain way, maybe in a certain tone, maybe if I'm standing in a certain way, if I'm looking a certain way, maybe if I have certain clothes on. And that is a very incredibly complex dynamic that
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people take for granted because they're normal. And it's something that you just got normally. But when
Hmm.
you're a shut in for 20 plus years of your life, it becomes damn near impossible to do these things because you have to play
Right.
catch up.
It's like you're like a level one conversation starter when a lot of people are like
Yeah.
level 20, and it's just like where do I like how do I catch up? Um,
Hmm.
so how do you like when you're instigating conversations online? Is it because you feel like you have a more shared language or environment with people? So like
Correct.
okay, so like like if you like talk about like the like incest is morally neutral meme, like I'm gonna know what you're talking about. But if you like
Yep.
say that at a bar, someone's gonna look at you like you're fucking insane, right?
Exactly.
So is it like is it sort of a fear that you don't know what like regular people talk about, or
Yep.
okay,
I don't know what I can get away with talking about that shares a similar environment to what I talk about online.
okay,
What can I say in what manner? Me and you could start talking about yay in Jewish people. We could start talking about whatever that, right? And that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to be able to do this when I sit down and I just meet somebody.
hmm
What can I talk about when I sit down and I just meet somebody? Well, they're not going to know what Tarkov is, chances are, unless like they have a higher chance if they're a guy. They have a significantly higher chance if they're a guy who's a conservative. So maybe I would try it under those circumstances,
hmm
but maybe not because I might come off as a nerd. Many conservative men really only like hiking, camping, doing those guyish, mannish things.
hmm
Okay, I can't really talk about POE. There's not really a good correlation I can have with based on the way that you look or the way that you act or your political inclinations with Path of Exile. So how am I going to be able to talk about this thing?
hmm
Can't really. Maybe Hogwarts Legacy. I might be able to talk about. A lot of people like Harry Potter might not know the game exists. That could be an in with a lot of people,
yeah.
including some women, stuff like that, and going through how that works. And in the process of thinking about these
Mhm.
things, I usually just end up not saying anything
Right.
because
Like
it's a lot of shit to
it's
think
like
about.
it's like the paralyzed through like too many options thing, right? Like you
Too
see
many options.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for if you could give me two recent examples for types of like say politics stuff that you've covered, what's like one type of politics that you think would be more socially acceptable to talk about versus the one that like you think was more is niche enough that you shouldn't bring it up? Because I feel like you're a pretty smart
I
guy.
I so I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
of anything that I talk about politically that can be brought up in a social setting.
Okay.
Um, Genuinely, I try to avoid it like the
Hmm.
plague unless somebody brings up something adjacent to it.
Um,
So yeah,
I'd say safer like political topics would probably be like Ukraine, because something it's like something like 70+% of Americans support like helping Ukraine. So like, hey, like it's wild, isn't it? Like like it's like World War III over there. Like shit's crazy, right?
yeah. That
Yeah.
could probably work for some people. I just don't know how I would organically bring up Ukraine.
Oh, okay. So it's
Like, damn, this is a cool bar we're in. So anyway, Ukraine.
yeah, oh, yeah. You could just say like yo, did you hear like Putin's like threatening like to nuke people or some shit. Like it's crazy. And like I guess you could like see how people respond. So okay, so it's more like you just don't. It's like what topics should I bring up that are
Yep.
acceptable to you? Um, I guess like this goes like into the second topic that I was curious about. You say you struggle. You said in that debate that you struggle having conversations about things that you don't care about,
Correct.
right? Like it's that's more like a. I would say that this one. I'm happy that you're a streamer because like you're in a somewhat I would say somewhat privileged job that you get to talk about what you like talking about, like as a
Yeah,
job, right?
yeah,
Like
I agree.
and I would in the even though I personally love my job at the office, but there's definitely things that like that are talked about there. There's parts of my job that I fucking despise, and there's people at work that I don't like, and it's almost
Hmm.
like a social muscle where you're like, my coworkers are talking about something, I'm not personally interested in it, but if I want to
Hmm.
participate socially, I have to communicate and I have to be inside that, and
Yep.
because of your environment, it lowers that chance because you just don't work out those muscles as much as you would otherwise.
Correct.
Okay. And when you're worried about that, have you? I would say for a lot of relationships, that muscle's super important because every person, like that, the habits of a good listener very much are: can you participate in a conversation that you don't care about and add things to that conversation, whether through like good questions or through I mean like active listening, right? Those are the big
Hmm.
things that shows someone that you care about them. Like if you were talking about Tarkov and like I'm just
Hmm.
listening and I'm responding, like I'm not just saying wow that's cool, wow that's cool, wow that's cool.
Hmm.
Like when you how have you since you recognize that about yourself, have you tried working on that in particular? Because that's probably
Yep.
okay.
When I go out and I am interacting with these people, I am recognizing that every last one of them is going to be boring to me. I'm going to have to figure out a way to interact with them that is going to make it so that way they feel like, at the very least,
Mhm,
heard by me in that moment,
mhm.
and that they're probably going to be I don't know. It's required to exist in society that I get along with people I don't share hobbies with. It's just kind of difficult for me to feign interest or
Mhm.
to do whatever enough to get to know some of their shit when I find it very boring.
Right, it takes like social energy that you'd prefer to be like spending talking about stuff that you actually care about.
I'd prefer to just be playing XCOM, man.
Oh, okay.
That's so early on. That's I made a very conscious decision about the
Mhm,
problems that I'm having, and
mhm,
I feel like this is going to be a big separation between me and a lot of other people that have a lived experience similar to me. I knew what I was getting myself into. I saw all of the challenges that it took. Well, I thought it was different growing up, but now it's not that much different. It's pretty similar. What I looked at is it's really hard. It was really hard to uh, uh, want to take those social risks and those challenges that are a natural part of growing up. It
mhm,
was really difficult to want to do that for everyone at the time. And I looked at that and was like, wow, that seems like that's going to take a lot of work. I'm just going to play Dota 2. And
mhm,
I made a very deliberate choice when I
mhm,
was young. I was like, I can put in the work to do the things my peers are doing,
mhm,
to socially engage, to do all these things. And I decided that shit ain't worth it.
mhm.
What feels a lot better is getting a 5-man black hole in Dota 2. It just feels unbelievable. It's unbelievable
Right.
feeling. So I
Oh,
was just like, fuck it. I'm going to play video games. And 25 years, old, I'm reaping those consequences.
and but do you feel now that not that you made the wrong choice or decision, but you feel like maybe your priorities that it actually was worth it, and now you're trying to catch up.
Um, Yeah, I would say earlier on, my idea of these social skills were more focused on they would be useful towards getting women.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care about that much growing up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not really going to try and improve my. I thought that looks mattered a little bit more when I was like 15 in comparison to like 16. I'm not going to improve my looks. I'm not going to improve my social skills. I'm not going to improve my grooming or all these things. They're going to be harder to do in order to make friends and
Mm-hmm.
get women. This just kind of seems a little bit boring to me. I would
Mm-hmm.
rather play Dota.
Right.
And now, or well, more specifically, when I was like 16, 17, I realized that it has more cascading consequences that not being able to make friends with people that don't share interests to me
Mm-hmm.
and communicate with them properly is going to make it harder for me to get a job, which is more of what I care about. Like even right now,
Mm-hmm.
like if you gave me the option between being somebody that is able to professionally exist in an environment, perfectly communicate perfectly with people, um, or be able to get women and or whoever I want in a relationship, I would instantly pick professional shit. I don't really
Okay.
care about getting in a relationship that much. It's actually not that big of a deal to me. The big deal for me is
Hmm.
I can't properly exist with other humans in society if I'm not capable of interacting with them when I'm not interested in the shit they do.
Hmm. And it seems like you're attempting like to make strides towards that now, right? Like
Yep.
you're moving towards that. And do you feel like you're better at it now than when did you make the conscious decision like just try and start changing?
4.5 months ago.
Oh, there, yeah. So and do you feel a difference between now versus like when you started in terms of like your capability in having those conversations, or
Yeah.
okay, and so you're catching up. You're not and
Yep.
you feel like I feel like a lot of the skills of being a streamer are kind of transferable to social interaction because you spend all day talking to people and it's different. To be
Yeah.
fair, it's different, right? Like there's slightly different
Uh-huh.
conversations and it's less adversarial, but you still have like your wit, your charisma for those interactions. So I think you're probably gonna catch up faster than you think for those.
Um, well, I've never really been bad at intimate relationships when I've known people. Like when I know people, I'm generally pretty good at the
Mm-hmm.
relationship. The problem is initiating a relationship with somebody I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. That's the most significant problem. Like a lot of the I in my past relationships have had pretty good conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
When there's conflict that happens, there is like literally no yelling or raising of voices or anything, which I've been pretty proud of. And
That's better
um,
than me.
uh, yeah, and so yeah, I feel like um, my most recent ex was, I thought I would say I was genuinely surprised and pleasantly so by the capabilities not only of me but also of her to be able to have good conflict resolution um,
Mm-hmm.
through pretty much the entire thing. Um,
Nice.
and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you if you don't mind me asking, so because you've had
Mhm.
relationships before, right?
Yep.
Um, how did you meet these people?
First person I met was at community college, and she was at a bus stop. That's how, like, we didn't have any classes together. She was sitting at the bus stop. I thought she was pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to talk to her. And one of the ways, this was when I was like 18, so
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very uncomfortable with talking to people I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I walked up to her and I said, I tried, when is the bus coming? Don't have a schedule. Do you have a schedule? And then they brought up
Perfect.
their schedule, right? And then they were like, oh, at this time. And then
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know what to say after that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just left it at that. And then later on the way, like on that bus back to like the bus station,
Mm-hmm.
she asked for my number. So
Hell
that
yeah.
was the first interaction. The second one, the more recent one, I've
Mm-hmm.
only had two relationships. The second one was more recently. It was she messaged me on Discord, and we went back and forth just talking.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I thought it was a prank, genuinely.
Hmm.
By I thought it was a prank by Darius to kind of get me. But yeah, you just message back and forth, and then yeah,
Okay.
it was anything like specific.
I saw this during the debate too. It seems like you were worried, or you denied yourself the potential for meeting or approaching women online because you don't want to be seen as creepy or don't want to be seen as like that guy, right? Like you don't want to like get in every
Yes,
girl's DMs who
I
exists in the space.
I believe it is very, yeah. I believe that a lot of the women online get a lot of DMs. I do not want to be another one of those dudes.
Yeah, I
if
would.
if a woman likes me and I'm in a Discord with her, she can message me. I feel like she gets too many messages from too many guys in too many weird ways. I feel like it is fine for me to go, listen, if you like me, you can message me, but I'm not going to be one of the 50 guys that messages you and then like hope that you don't view me as another one of those weirdo dudes or whatever and shit like that.
I
I
don't.
feel like that's fine.
I think that's acceptable. I would say on your end, I think that might be a little overly cautious, and it might be like denying you the potential to speak to people. Because like you said, a lot of people like maybe they do think you're interesting, but they're not willing to approach you. But the same way, if you think someone's interesting, but you're unwilling to approach them, you're gonna see less people. And I would say that
Yep.
you seem like a smart enough guy that you can like. There's a difference between like getting in someone DMs like yo, what's up, honey? Like, you want to show me those like knockers versus like, hey, I thought you were interested in that conversation. Like, would you want to play games or talk again sometime? Like, I think.
Yeah, and I imagine that there's a lot. So I'm just purely doing this entirely off of what women say. That is it.
Okay.
Right? It is not what I necessarily believe to be the case. I just get told that women get DMs. If a woman dares speak in a Discord, 50 DMs instantly of like, hey, things like that. Hey, I wanted to get better. You want to talk offline? Shit like this, whatever. Right? They get 50 DMs from people about like shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard. Is it real? I don't fucking know. I'm not a
mean,
woman. I haven't had the experience of going into Discord and having people DM me because they want to get to know me. I don't have that experience, right? And so I'm just going based off of what I hear, and what I hear is a lot of tomfuckery. So I'm just like, fuck.
There's a lot of fuckery, but I think personal experience. I've definitely slid into people's DMs before and like and had fun, right?
Sure.
But like I would say there is a respectful way to do that, and as long as you're doing it in the respectful way and not pushing, then I think you would be okay. Because like the big problem is like essentially like the online spaces work for you, right? Like this is both your workplace and your social space in a lot of ways, right?
Sure.
And I would say that in this specific instance, someone did message you on Discord, right? But if you message people as well, you're going to have like greater potential for interactions, right? And,
Yep.
And I think you can do that without being creepy.
I agree that I can do it without being creepy.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, I don't want to contribute to a problem where if you're a woman and you exist on Discord, then every dude is just trying to hit on you. I don't want to contribute to that environment. I'd rather women be able to exist in an environment where they don't have 50 guys DMing them the moment that they inner voice comms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a part of that, even if I am genuinely somebody. Like, there's a difference between like if I've known this chick for like fucking 10 years in Discord and we've been bantering or whatever, but just like some random chick in Discord, just leave her alone. She's just there to play video games. This is what I've heard from women, right? Personally. If you want to say that something else is the case, then that's fine or whatever. What I've heard from women is leave us alone. I just want to play video games. I'm just here for the exact same reason as you, because I like Tarkov, because I like Path of Exile, because I like Modern Warfare. Just leave me alone. Let me play the game. And if you want to play games together, we can play games together, but just leave me alone.
So
that's what I've heard.
There is that environment, but I would also say that you like respectfully like saying hey to somebody who you share space with, or asking or saying like hey, like if you want to like play games again later. I don't think that crosses a line, and I would. This is I'd say this is more about potentially being assertive for you. Where you seem like a really polite guy, really respectful like dude, and a lot of like what I've gotten from this, and you stop me if you think I'm wrong, is that you don't want to be a burden to people, right? Like, you don't want to bother people unnecessarily, and it's for you, it's better to be on the side of caution than be on the side of like I don't want to fucking make someone's day worse, right? But
sure.
I would tell you that like maybe pushing yourself like in the other direction a little bit, not saying DM like every single girl that like exists in this space, but like if you have like an actual good conversation with somebody saying hey, like you seem pretty interesting, like would you want to play games sometime, and then just leave it at that, I think that would be a more healthy balance for you, and it wouldn't completely cut yourself off from like having any potential interactions or relationships in the online space, because again, like you get a lot of relationships through work, you get a lot of relationships through like your hobbies, right? And if you're saying I refuse to really get any potential relationships from my workplace or from my hobbies, then you're essentially cutting yourself off from like the two primary ways of like getting somebody.
Yeah, I recognize that. I just think so. I'm just running off of what I hear from women. That's it. If you want to say it's inaccurate, maybe I'm listening to the wrong women or whatever. All I hear consistently from women that play video games is leave us alone. Just play video games with us if that's what you want, and leave us alone.
And
That's what I hear the most consistently
and
all
that
the time.
and that's fine. I would just say that a lot of the problems that they have with people DMing them is that if you like just slide it in respectfully and say, hey, you seem really nice, I'd love to play games with you sometime, let me know if you'd be interested in something like that, you're already ahead of like 99% of people who DM them online, because a lot of people just like slide into DMs and start saying wild shit, like and
Yeah,
so
maybe.
and I don't think it would. I don't think like a milk toast message from you saying like, "Hey, you seem pretty cool. You want to play games sometime," is so over the line that it would cause any more problems than what women currently experience.
I think that is a reasonable take. This is not what I hear from women, though.
Okay.
What I hear is leave me alone.
Is
I'm here to play video games. I'm on Discord for the same reason men are, to play video games. I'm not here to find a husband. I'm not here to find any of that shit. I'm here to play Modern Warfare. I'm here to play Path of Exile. I'm here to play Tarkov. This has been the most consistent message I've been told, and I believe many other people have been told about women's behavior inside of these spaces.
And I think like a big reason for that is because of how women are kind of treated in this space, right? Because a lot of like their interactions with men might be like, oh, like, you know, like make me a sandwich, like that sort of dumb shit, right? Like old like COD lobby like stuff, like girl on VC, like if you don't have to fall into that stereotype. And you said it was a reasonable take, so I don't think we're fighting on it. But I would encourage. I think you have a lot to offer, like to people, and I think that you're actively hamstringing your potential and capability to see and meet people because you're denying yourself the primary avenues and social spaces that you exist in. Because at this point, the only way you meet someone is like through dating apps or going out to bars, like IRL stuff, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and if you go out to bars like once a week, you're saying like, oh, I'm gonna try for 2 hours once a week to go like see somebody or meet somebody. When you're denying yourself the potential that's like, you know, how often are you online or on Discord? You know what I mean? Like probably like at least like 5 or 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're denying yourself, you know, 20 times as much time that you might meet somebody, like by saying no to this.
Not necessarily. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, like I said previously, I don't really have a desire to get a girlfriend or anything.
Just want
it's
to smash?
Not really. That shit's a lot of work, bro. Because I stress about possible pregnancy, STIs, like shit like that. There's a bunch of problems.
Condoms?
Well, yeah, but like condoms doesn't fully prevent STIs.
I know.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, I gotta deal with all of that, and then I gotta deal with, you know, talking to somebody, getting to that point. For me, I just rather play video games, and the whole point. But for me, right now, it is getting myself out of the position where the habit of playing video games instead of, you know, going out there and doing that. Yeah, the primary reason I would be talking to people would be learning again how to have a conversation with people I don't really have interest in, for the sakes of primarily existing in a professional capacity, getting a job.
Okay, so if you're not looking for a relationship right now, right? But you just want to improve your social capabilities. That's like the current goal, right?
Yeah.
Then I would say that a lot of this is the practice thing, because you talk about how, like, you know, like experience in relationships, experience talking with people. If you don't, you know, make these interactions or like reach out to these people, then you're gonna have less practice. Like, it's a great way of honestly striking out's probably the best way about getting better about, like, you know, talking to people, because like you can say, hey, it doesn't have to be like in a romantic context. You can say like, hey, you're interesting, like, you want to be my friend, da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think we have a huge fight there. So do you feel like there might be an issue during some of these debates where it's like, your personal goals are different than say the people who you're advocating for, right? Like, because you talk about, like, say, your personal desire to, like, improve your social capacity,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time we're also talking about, like, the in general man who's, like, similar to your position but, like, actually, like, actively wants, like, dating and relationships and da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a difference in goals, but I believe the same exact. If I wanted a relationship, I would be doing every single thing the same, except for I might like try to talk to more women if I'm at the bar, um, disproportionately than I talk to men. Whereas like right now, I'm just trying to talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would probably try and make a greater effort to talk to women if that's what I was. But I think you should do the exact same thing that I'm doing.
Okay.
I don't see so.
I the only yeah I'd say the primary difference is that I think you should reach out to more people in
Oh
your,
sure,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
right now,
In,
like, not
in
necessarily, not like, I just mean long term for your social practice, right? DMs is a way of being social, like, of social practice, right? Like, so those are things that I would recommend as well. You're denying yourself more practice when you don't have
um
to. And
sure.
like, I understand there are risks, right? Like, you might, like, make someone's, like, day slightly worse, but I would encourage you to be a little more selfish. That getting these interactions and getting, like, these people to talk to you, you kind of, at some point, you kind of have to be like, okay to take that leap, because again,
Mm-hmm.
like, because otherwise you're going to potentially, like, remain a wallflower, and I think that's, selling yourself short.
Um, I think I can learn most of the things that I need to acquire the goals that I want, which is to be able to exist autonomously, um, in a professional setting. I think I can do that pretty easily by just doing the interactions that I have by going to the gym and going to the bar. I
Okay.
think I can. I think I'm capable of obtaining that. The
I'm not saying.
online interactions, I would say, inhabit a different sphere that I don't think are very applicable because most of the people I'm going to be messaging online probably already share my interests, and it
Mhm.
almost defeats the purpose of what I'm doing, which is I'm trying to figure out how to talk to some dude that only cares about sports and like drinking and shit
Those
when
are
I
so
don't care.
annoying. Those
Yeah, and when I don't really care about either one of those things.
I got you.
Um,
But do you think, I would say that, even, like, there's plenty of people online with different, like, hobbies than you. Like, for example, right? If I care about the gym more than you do, right?
yep.
Um, there are people that you can talk to about things that give you that practice, that it doesn't have to be IRL, right? And
Yeah.
it's so I'd say, like, there's bridging the gap, and just it's like a muscle. If you get more opportunities to work it out, you're gonna get more practice. And I understand, like, you're capable you're capable of doing it just through the gym and through the bar, but it's like, it feels like you're willingly blocking yourself off from getting more practice, unnecessarily. And then, back to
I
the.
mean,
Oh,
I'll,
sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
I'll talk to people online. Um, I have no problem with talking to people online. Previously, I was talking about we had the discussion about like hitting on women
Mm-hmm.
online. If you want to talk about just having a conversation with women, then yeah, if a woman DMs me, then I can talk with her or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But um, I'm not. I the reason why again online doesn't feel great to me is because I feel like I have the underlying um I have the underlying they know what I do, I know what they do kind of
Mm-hmm.
shared similarity. The thing I'm trying to practice is I don't know shit about this person, or I know very little.
Mm-hmm.
Um I don't really care what they're into. I need to now figure out a way to become friendly with this person or
Mm-hmm.
possibly friends with this person for the purposes of existing inside of a professional environment.
Okay. And then, I still think you could find those people, like, those differences in the online space as well. And
Okay.
I would say that, because of your reach online compared to, um, your reach IRL, you'll get more opportunities for that if you don't cut yourself off there. But back to the worries about like the worries about like sex and pregnancy and stuff. Is that a big point of anxiety for you? Because like just like the fear of like getting someone pregnant. Because like I know what you mean. Like I've like had sex with people before and like broke condoms and stuff. I'm like, holy shit! Like I don't want to be a dad at fucking 23 or whatever. Like,
yeah, it's enough of a concern that it makes me tired to the point where I'd rather just play video games.
oh, it's like
So
like as a
I view my time in a very like opportunity cost way.
Mhm.
So I could spend 3 hours in a bar, 4 hours in a bar trying to find a chick in the hopes that maybe I might be able to have a good conversation with her that maybe turns into a sexual interaction. And then during that sexual interaction and during those interactions, I'm going to have to talk with them, which is socially exhausting because I just generally have a low social battery. So I don't
Mhm.
really generally like talking to people unless it's like playing a video game.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be exhausted from that. Um, I don't know like how going to their place or going to my place is going to work. I don't know all of these things on top of this. I don't know what they're into. I don't really sexually. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if that maybe uh, there might be a condom break situation. I don't know if they have STIs. I don't know if I'm comfortable with like non-protected sex or like a blowjob if I don't know about their STI shit. And then all of that kind of piles on. It's like I
It,
would rather play XCOM.
it's like it's you're sort of catastrophizing because it's like all these things that kind of have to fall into place, and there's all these risks at every stage versus I can stay here and be safe.
I mean,
And do stuff you enjoy.
even
Like,
if even if everything goes right,
Mhm.
I genuinely would rather beat 2 missions on XCOM than have sex. It's not that great.
Okay.
So I just genuinely I like video games more.
Okay, and that's totally fine. Okay, so that's interesting. Um, is that you just so you like video games more than like everything else, right? So then the big question is why are you trying so hard to become more socially capable?
Because it is required to exist in a professional setting in society. It makes your life so much harder if you cannot talk with people in a normal fashion in a decent capacity to be able to do fucking everything in life.
Mhm. And is
For me to be able to exist with my coworkers, to work with my coworkers, to
mhm.
do anything normally in society is a lot harder if I'm not capable of having a conversation with somebody who doesn't share half of my interests.
I agree with you. Are you currently working another job right now as well?
No.
Oh, so then
I'm trying to learn to program
oh
so that way I can get a
cool.
job programming.
Um, so for have you had jobs before that would just require like professional interactions?
Yup.
And were you bad at those professional interactions, or is it what was?
Yup.
Oh, okay, and so how bad are we talking? Was it just like you feel like you were making people uncomfortable, or things were
I
only?
mean, it just got to the point where I told people I was going to do the job myself and told them to leave, and they did.
Okay, so it hurt like your teamwork skills or like your team building
Yep.
capacity. Okay, so and this is more trying to encourage like just it's professional development, right? Like you're like, okay, like these are the skills that I want to be able to do what I need. So I'm going to improve my social skills, and I'm going to learn how to code. So like I mean, just expanding your skill set for the purpose of work.
It
So
is for the purpose of existing cohesively in society. If it was just down to me not being able to like realistically get a girlfriend, I don't really care. I'm very happy on my own.
I was going to ask about that.
And
Okay.
as I exist natively, I'm a very happy guy. So I really don't have much of a need for it.
Okay. So it seems like your goals are pretty different compared to like a lot of what I would like what we would unaffectionately like call like either sexless men or like incels, right?
Yeah,
So
I'd probably say that.
okay, so then advocating for you versus advocating for them, I feel like we'd be pushing for different things.
I feel like the overlap is rather significant. Like there's very few things, if anything, that a incel guy would be doing that I wouldn't be doing. Because I think a lot of what attracts women, gets women, is being able to come off as a cool person. Well, you first things first, you got to groom yourself just to a decent level. Just don't
You
look
grew.
like you.
Can you
you
can you
you're,
grow can you grow a beard, or is it just the mustache?
no,
No.
I
Like,
cannot grow a beard.
hmm.
Wish I could. But
The mustache looks good
like,
though. It's
yeah,
my mustache is red. It's disgusting. It's like I'm blonde. I have a ginger fucking mustache. It doesn't look good.
yeah. Um, but what I'm talking about when I'm talking about grooming isn't necessarily myself. Even though I do think I have some grooming things I need to do. I only recently started moisturizing my skin, yada
Oh,
stuff like
dude,
that.
skincare
But
routine is critical.
yeah, it's in. I didn't start at all until recently. But there's those basic things. After those basic things, um, and I think that's what a lot of guys are missing. By the way, is those basic things, basic grooming. Um, and but after those basic things, it's pretty much just like being a cool person, interesting and not weird, like
I think
kind
you're
of just
interesting.
being a normal.
I mean, I would say by virtue of you being like like a semi-successful like full-time streamer, you are interesting. Like people wouldn't watch you if you weren't interesting.
I am interesting to a small group of people, and those other groups of people hate me
Uh,
because of the nature of politics. Like if I was streaming like sports stuff or something, that would be an interesting thing. But the thing is, I talk about politics that alienates the vast majority of Americans.
I guess that's fair. Do you think it's like the nature of like extreme politics online that just like
Sure.
it like stops? Have you thought about covering less extreme politics just to talk about that, or is it?
I'm I want I've thought about it. Like, should I cover less extreme politics? That way, if somebody looks me up online, it's going to be whatever. But I don't really care for that. I would rather cover the politics I want to cover,
Mhm.
not in like if some dude I'm trying to become friends with looks up my YouTube channel and figures
Mhm.
in and says like I'm an incel and doesn't want to be friends with me anymore, so be it.
Okay.
It is what it is. I'm gonna speak the way that I I do. I want to make the kind of content I want to make.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but I would still say that people wouldn't like hate you like immediately just like if they knew that you were a streamer, right? I would say
Sure.
that's a very cool job for like people our age. If you're like, yo guys, like I'm a streamer, and they're like, like what do you do? And you could say like, hey, I have conversations. I'm like a political commentator, and like
I think
that's a
it's
really easy way to like to talk to people. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't go ahead.
I think that's pretty hit or miss, man. I've met a lot of people IRL who have
Mm-hmm.
said shit like I'm an influencer, I'm a streamer, I'm a YouTuber, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people go loser and they just move on
I did.
because they assume you have like a two-person YouTube channel that you stream like Minecraft.
Oh well, you got to have numbers ready then, right? It's like
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my.
no, well it's
Oh
like a
man,
no
come on, bro.
no because like you got to couch it right because I would agree with you that because here's the thing right so at my workplace before I changed jobs like in the last like 6 months right I was focusing on my work
Hmm.
um, at my old job when I was streaming like at my peak, right?
Hmm.
And they'd be like, "Yo, Hans, like, what do you do in your free time?" I'm like, "Oh, like I stream, politics and video games sometimes." And they're like, and then they gave me like the look that you said, where it's like, "Oh wow, like two like viewer Andy, like what a fucking loser." And then I'm like, "Yeah, like like I have about like 5,000 followers on Twitch and about like 3,000 like subscribers on YouTube." And then suddenly, like when you like say those numbers, people are like, "Oh, so like it's actually a real thing. It's not you're not some like random loser streaming to two people, right?" Like
Um,
I think that gives you more credibility. It's not the bragging thing that Destiny talks about sometimes, where it's like, "What's your follower count? What's your follower count?" It's more like, "Hey, just so you know, this is actually a job for me. I'm not doing nothing." It's more like establishing your capabilities. It's like you're selling yourself.
yeah, one of the issues I have with that as well, though, is man, I don't like bringing it up because I don't want to be doxxed.
Hmm.
Um, if people IRL Like very few people
Oh.
IRL know what my channel is because I don't want to be fucking doxxed, bro. There's some crazy people.
So you're worried like if you put that out into the ether, then you're like someone like who might like not, like who doesn't like you might find out where you live, right? So that's like that. Is that like a is that a worry?
Yo, yeah.
Okay. Oh, so it makes your what if you well if you're going out like and meeting people at bars, if I told you like like the company that I worked at, you'd probably
Yep.
like find me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's always like that. I'd say every person with a job in a local area has that sort of problem. Is it specifically because?
Well, it's specifically because of the job that I have. Like being doxxed when you have like an online job, I feel like is worse. Because any weirdo that wants to can like fucking mail me a bomb
I guess that's possible.
or just swat me. I really don't want to be swatted. So
Have you ever been
that would
swatted?
suck. No.
That's good. Um,
Yeah.
I'd say that's potentially part of the job, but I would also say that like
It is.
but like the risks for that, I would say is pretty low. And again, you're denying yourself like the capacity to talk about things because like the easiest like it's cringe in society that we do this, but the thing that everyone asks you like when they first meet you is like what do you do for work, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to like show people your channel because like hey like I'm an online streamer or something like that, and like I feel like that's an okay thing, and I'd say most people again right there is gonna be that subsection of people that says like fuck off, you're a loser. A lot of people be like, oh, that's fucking cool because dude like literally like I think the most wanted job that kids like in America want to be YouTubers.
Yeah.
Like it beats astronaut now. Everyone's like fuck the moon. I want to be like a 20,000 like follower person on like some social media, right? So I would say that more people than you think would probably think your job is super fucking cool, regardless of what you're talking about. By the way, right? Like I don't. Most of the time, when you like do that, you don't. I don't think you have to go into specifics. You don't even have to like say the name of your channel, right? Because I assume when you like talk in real life, you don't use your streamer name, right?
Nah, yeah, I love using my streamer name, IRL. No.
It's like, what's up, Relly? Like,
Yeah.
no, I know what you mean. I do the same thing. My name isn't actually Hanz. Who would have thought? But
Oh no.
like, I thought it worked. Like I was like, but okay, but can you understand? Can you see like why that might like affect your ability to talk about yourself when someone?
Well, yeah. My thing is, I just believe I lack the charisma to talk about my job in a way that is not cringe.
Oh,
It might happen eventually that I'm able to do it, but I haven't found a way to navigate it that doesn't like kind of just end the conversation.
could you like give me like your current pitch? Like how you how you say it? You're like I'm Relly. I stream online stuff. Like what do you do?
Usually say I'm in online media production.
That's pretty
Is
cool.
usually what I say. And then they just like don't say anything.
Okay. Like I'd say most people don't have a ton of experience with that. So normally if you give them maybe something like to grab onto, it might help more. Like when I saw like during your debate, you talked about how your friend who's a cop, he has a cool cop story, right? Are there any like cool stories like online that you can talk about like as an icebreaker? Like like one time I did a rap battle with with Hanz, right? Like the troll doll and and like this like random like furry man screaming at me. It was wild.
I don't think there's anything that I could say that wouldn't risk polarizing people.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Like a lot of this shit that I find to be the craziest that has happened on my channel are things that are very politically contentious.
Oh, okay. I mean, like it could be potentially contentious, but I would say for you, there are certain things that you can't control, right? Like there's always like there can be variables. Like if you tell someone that like your job, you're like risking doxing yourself every all the time you do that, right? There's things that you if you go every time you go outside, that you might get hit by a bus, right? There's like all these things that happen that you can't particularly stop or control. Is that like a source of anxiety? Because it seems like you're very risk averse, from like what I can tell, right?
Probably, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
say that's probably fair that I'm risk averse. Um, I uh, I don't know. I just would rather people not know that I stream. I don't want. Well, that's not necessarily true. Um, I might potentially have to move, and I'm thinking about moving in with Darius again.
Oh,
And when I do that, I am trying to figure out if they are cool with like me going there and trying to get, because apparently there's like a bunch of like young people around. I'm trying to think about like getting those young people to come on my stream and hang out on my stream
that'd be
and like
cool.
just chill. And same with like Darius. And that obviously they would need to know where I live
Right,
in
like
order for that to work.
you're opening yourself up to that, but
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of college people
like a
or
streamer
whatever.
house.
Well, not necessarily. Like it's like just like a kind of a revolving door
Oh,
of
okay,
like a bunch of people. Yeah,
cool. Um, yeah. Right now, do you currently like live alone, or are you like with somebody, or?
I'm with my family.
Oh, okay, nice.
Hmm.
That's okay. And do you think that? And are you moving partially for professionally, or just like so, like because being a, I remember like living with people is a great way like to have more social interactions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that is that like another like a source of anxiety where it's like a like about the dating thing where like do I bring someone back to my house and like my folks are here or something like that? Is that like a
Oh, I don't bring anybody back to this house.
oh okay? You have a different house for fucking?
Yeah, I have a second my second house. No, I don't fuck. Um, the I wouldn't bring people over here to this house because, like I said, my family's here. I feel like that's, I don't know. I guess people do it, but I feel like that shit's weird. Um, yeah, so I don't do it.
Especially for like random hookups. Like if it's your partner, like my partner, I'm taking them. Like when I go visit my family for New Year's, like they're coming with me. Like that's not weird,
Sure.
but like hey, mom, just so you know,
Yeah.
I'm about to fuck like an animal. So please don't, please ignore the sounds coming
Yeah.
from Rel's room.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
that is like a I guess okay, that makes sense. Then for the what's it called? Oh, fuck. What was I gonna say? Um, do you when you talk about the like the physical characteristics stuff like and pretty privilege, right? Because I 100% agree with you that it's real.
Yep.
But I would I think a lot of dudes give up before they even try, right? I'd
With
say,
what?
with the what do they call it, like the looks maxing thing, like
Looks
how,
maxing?
yeah, like how many dudes like actively groom themselves, actively go to the gym, or actively like try and dress like to a decent degree, right?
I would probably say how many of them actually do it.
Yeah, like
Mm,
before they give up, right? Like
before they give, I'd say actually probably like 60% of men groom and shit to a decent degree. I think the majority of men know how to take care of themselves, or at least when I look at young men, there's that. But 40% don't, which is a lot.
and that's like
But
and like probably the majority of the incel community are coming from like that 40%.
almost all of them, yeah, are going to come from, and that's not the primary reason why. I think it is a combination of not being presentable and then not being social.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's like because you give yourself less interactions, and then like you make yourself less capable in those interactions, and then that just like that overall hurts your chances in complex like social environments. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
And then you see like people that do groom and do know how to dress, and you go like, well, they're not having problems, and it must only be because they dress well and because they groom or whatever. And then you start making excuses for why if you can't do it and whatever. But
right,
if you just like did it, you could probably get away with doing it pretty easy.
right. It's like most guys. It's like, well, am I supposed to go to the gym and change my entire personality, like da 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 da, like and change how I dress and all that sort of stuff? Um, I guess the final topic that I wanted to like to pick your brain on was in regards to like a kinder society. You talk a lot about like a lot of guys who are good, decent men don't really get in the door, right?
Yep.
Would you agree that relationships at their most basic level are normally transactional?
Yep.
Yep. So I'm not really sure how you get to a spot in society where, beyond individual advice and self improvement, that like people can really do better, right? Like people like the frustrating thing is like when just screaming at men do better probably doesn't help because a lot of things that you do better are pretty simple, but I'm not really. What is your opinion on like a quote unquote like nice guy but he doesn't really provide like a lot of value in a relationship? I'm not talking like high value man. I'm saying like what do you do, right? Like are you making
It depends on where you don't provide the value. Let's say that you have like very low social status, so like most people consider you to be a loser. Not just women, but men consider you to be a loser. I think that's an unfortunate bit of classism that people have, but
Mhm.
it's good. I can't really just tell you to make more money, but at the end of the day, people are going to consider you a loser if you're broke. It's unfortunate. A
Mhm.
lot of people consider my mom to be, a fucking loser, even though she is a woman, which disproportionately women are going to see as less of losers for making less money because men are seen more as a display of how much they earn uh, than women are. Women are typically judged based on how they look. But it, even my mother was seen as a loser, and she was working like 12 hours a day,
Mhm.
trying to raise two kids. Very, very much not a loser, but
Mhm.
that's how shit works. Kind of just in really for people, it just came down to she wasn't making enough money, and that's what it is.
Right.
So
Okay.
there are some problems like that, which I would argue most men in that nice guy territory aren't inhabiting. I don't think the problem is that they're earning too little money. I think most of the time it's
Social
if you're
deficiencies.
yeah, it's social deficiencies. Maybe they haven't groomed properly or whatever. Um, yeah. I
Okay.
would recommend looks maxing to most men because, like I stated inside of the conversation, I think while looks isn't everything, it gives you more opportunities to mess up,
Right.
and people will make excuses for you not being that bad of a guy because you stuttered or because you walk weird or you talk weird. People give you make more excuses for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because like you can, like I could probably I could fuck up more often than someone who's like less attractive or like makes less money. Da 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 da.
Yep.
But I would say in if someone doesn't fit like that criteria for somebody, um, I'm not really sure how to fix that beyond that person changing or improving, right? The same way that and you say that people they devalue people for less things. Like if it's a guy, it might be because like he's like his social status is lower. For a woman, it might be because like her weight is like above what
Higher.
higher than like what's socially acceptable. So when you get
Hmm.
people that fail in those specific regards, what do you I'm not really sure how to fix that societally beyond just saying like, hey, like maybe just be more.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, something that I said that I believe that we can do is we can move towards a culture of people's jobs being seen as what they are is being a job, productive. They're doing something for their community.
Hmm.
No matter what the job is, you're doing something for your community.
Well,
And
we
so
sort of have a little bit of that right now, right? Where it's like
a little bit,
because
but
if you don't have a job, you're seen as even more of a loser, right? Like
even more of a right. But what I'm saying is like, I agree that beyond when you don't have a job, that's going to be a kind of a different way of going about it. But like to begin with, well, to a degree, I would say that like depending on the circumstances, you not having a job is just an objectively bad
hmm
thing. But it, speaking specifically to a lot of the jobs that are discredited, right? Lower earning jobs, service jobs, or whatever that are
hmm
typically discredited. I think we can do a better job at saying, these people are productive members of our society. They're the pillars, really the backbone of society, and start viewing it culturally and through the media in that way. And I think people will open up more and more to the idea of, yeah, he may be a bus driver, but you know that's okay. It's a job. He
Hmm.
can do whatever. Uh, and I think people can be more receptive to less appealing jobs. I think we could do the same thing with like I'd say we have been doing the same thing with women's weight. I think women and their and how uh, our perception of women who are overweight, as much as independent media like YouTubers and shit have been shitting on fat women and stuff. I
Hmm.
think it's actually been getting better. I think that
Fat acceptance has come a
there's
long
been,
way. Yeah.
huh?
I said fat acceptance has come a long way.
Yeah, exactly. I think we make, and I think it's getting better, even though we're making pretty big mistakes in the media that are like obvious that these mainstream companies are just trying to get a buck off of fat acceptance and not really care. Like they're being unnecessarily inflammatory with some of their shit. Like, what is this? Well, actually, I don't know. Do you agree that if you don't date women of a specific weight, that means you're fat phobic?
I don't think you're fat phobic. I would say that a lot of things are natural preferences that people have. So there's two things, right, that are interfacing. It's what you
Hmm.
think your internal value is, right,
Uh huh.
and then that goes into and then that matches up with what your like desires or standards are, and they'll meet. And I'd say some people, both men and women, have much higher standards for what they have for other people than for themselves, right? It's like if
Hmm.
like it's like the WoW nerd who stays inside all day and is like, I want a supermodel like wife. Where's my supermodel? Or a random waitress who's like, where's my billionaire husband? Right? And
Hmm.
it's like, all right, well, understand like what your lane is, right? Or like what your
Hmm.
thing is. And I think there is always going to be people that misconstrue what their quote unquote value is compared to what they want, right? Like I'm a pretty I'd say like I'm a young, like relatively like high powered professional, right? And
Hmm.
I'd say my partner is pretty attractive, and they're currently in medical school, right? So I'm going to be hopefully like long term in a relationship with a doctor, and that's kind of like
Cool.
where I'm at socially, financially, that sort of thing, right? But I would say I've dated people who are like lower social or like monetary status than me.
Hmm.
But I would also say, I do have standards. When I date people, I prefer people that like I said, share my interests. I like girls that go to the gym. I
Hmm.
like girls that like anime and like stuff that like those things that I like. So when I pick a partner, I have those specific standards, and I don't think being exclusionary is inherently a bad thing. But like at the same time, I bring baggage into a relationship, right? Like I do have some like I'd say like some sexual trauma, right?
Hmm.
Um, which is partially why I don't really date men anymore.
Hmm.
But it's like but for that sort of stuff, I think that's a normal human thing. But it's almost it's strange for me because a lot of where I would say for those people is I want people to both have a more realistic understanding of where they are personally. Like what are you bringing into a relationship? Like, are you a good listener? Right? Are you like all those like things that make someone a good partner to have? So I think people need to be accurately assessing themselves, all at the same time trying to improve themselves, right? And then at the same
Sure.
time, for a lot of people, I would say a lot of people who are single, um, this isn't everyone, so like if there's any incels listening, like I'm not attacking you specifically. I think a lot of people have higher standards than what they personally can like that are in terms
Yeah.
of value, right? Where it's like,
Sure, but I do believe that it is difficult to understand someone's standards because I think often people will like there's constant compilations of women saying I want a guy who's 6 foot who makes 100K, 200K or whatever. But I guarantee you a 5'9" guy walks up to her with the same interests, a good personality, and maybe puts the riz on her, and it's game over. And she'll like that guy.
mhm,
I think that there is I think people say things often
mhm,
about their preferences and they're building an ideal
mhm,
that is like their tippity top, not what they actually expect. and ass meets grass, it's significantly
Lower,
like
right?
lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how do you think we fix that like on a more individual level about like telling people it's like, hey, like depending on what you got going for you, maybe you feel like there. Oh, sorry. You feel like there's an incongruence, and part of like why incels are frustrated is because they either feel like women that are on their level don't seem interested in them, because it's like the
I think the problem with incels is that they don't feel like any woman sees them as a viable prospect.
okay, and they're like so like they can even get like a like a in their like terminology like a one, right? They're like no matter no woman ever, no matter like what's wrong, she could be an overweight homeless person with schizophrenia, and they still wouldn't be interested in them.
I think a lot of them, yeah.
Okay, I feel I feel like a portion of that would just be them getting out of their own head, right? But again, like you said, like I think you're. I'm saying you're an insult, but what I would say is like you have a lot of good qualities. I think that makes you fun to interact with and fun to be social around. And some of the things is just learning to be more comfortable in your own skin and like growing like those social skills, right? Where it's like,
Yeah. I think that. So in my experience of being around genuine incels, not people that you see online and shit like that, they're the exact same way. They're great people. They're fine people. The problem is they just have a lisp, or they talk weird. They do shit that is bizarre, and then they did the exact same thing as me. They were like, "Fuck." A lot of people don't really like socially interacting with me. This is going to take a lot of work to fix. I
mm-hmm,
don't want to do this. I'm going to watch anime. I'm going to watch TV shows. I'm going to play video games. And
mm-hmm,
then they get socially stunted. They get socially left behind, and then they stay behind.
right,
That is, I believe, the most common way that incels develop
mm-hmm,
is through that. And then they like start trying to reason why they can't get back into dating or making friends.
mm-hmm.
Um, when they're 23 years old with negative social experience.
I guess that makes sense.
Yep.
And then for fixing or helping those guys, right? Uh, is it just like the like getting them to the risk factory and like trying to like help them like with their personal stuff?
It is literally just going to be, you are going to need to have conversations with people normally, have people guide you. Hopefully you have friends around you that are willing to take you out, go outside, guide you with how to be normal. That's what I have. I have
Mm-hmm.
two people I go out with whenever I go outside. They try their best to guide me to have normal conversations
Cool.
with people, tell me where shit goes wrong. That's the only way to do it. You are never going to talk to somebody online or anything, and they're never going to give you a silver bullet to how to do these things.
Right.
It's about
It's boring hard
you're
work.
gonna, yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to prescribe to people that that's the way that it is, because again, coming all the way back to it,
Mm-hmm.
what feels a lot easier is to just say be mean to women if you want women, so that you can get short-term relationships. It becomes very difficult for me to sell that this very difficult process
Mm-hmm.
is something that you should go through, but I believe it'd be better for you. And
Mm-hmm.
well, if we're talking about a holistic thing, it's an incomparably better thing. It's going to be better for people,
Do
as a whole.
do you feel like part of why assholes get women is because they seem more like willing to they have a higher internal sense of value, or just not even that, they're just more willing to be assertive, right? So like say I when I was still like in the dating market, I would strike out all the time. You know what I mean? Like I would like
Hmm.
DM somebody, or I'd met someone on Tinder, send a message, never hear anything back, or go like on a coffee date with somebody, and they wouldn't and I would never see them again, right? Like it's just like it's a numbers game. Even for like quote unquote attractive men, it's like you gotta. It's like you're like all right, I match with like say 100 people. I
Hmm.
message them all, and only 10 of them respond. And of those 10, I get a date with one of them, and that date
Hmm.
doesn't go well. So it's like it feels strange telling people that it really is just like a numbers game where you're like, all right, if you and for assholes, right, getting like more women, it's if you say like a good guy rel with a cool background and a lot to offer, if you only interact with say 2 women a week because you only talk to them when you go out to the bar, versus like asshole Steve who like will talk to like 20 women because he goes out like maybe more than you, or in the same night he might approach more women, and he's just like, I don't care if I strike out, I might as well fucking do it, and like, and because of that, they get like more interactions.
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think there's very clear thing that happens where there are certain women that like the aesthetic of what like asshole guys provide, a bravado, a kind of like uh, I'm all that demeanor.
The confidence, right? They're attracted
Yeah,
to the confidence, like, and the asshole
well,
thing is sort of like a subsection of that.
kind of, yeah. But I do believe that there are women that are attracted to that kind of an aesthetic.
Hmm.
And just like how there's men who are attracted to crazy chicks as an aesthetic, there are people that are attracted to aesthetics of people that are not healthy for them to be attracted to. Or there's men that are, for instance, well, men and women, but
Mm.
there's men who are attracted to underage women, right? There are people who are attracted to certain things that are unhealthy and not something that is good for them, and some people might pursue that.
So,
I
sorry, 1 second. Just like ignoring the like the pedophilia thing for a second, right? Like
mhm.
some of these like archetypes, like crazy chicks or like asshole guys. You, I I would say that they're a subsection of like of a broader thing that people like energy and passion in relationships, right? And
Yeah.
and so if you're a nicer, like more even keeled guy, you might on the surface not have like that kind of immediate energy, right? And people are attracted like to energy, right? Whether it's good energy or bad energy, like I would agree with you
Yeah.
that like there's like a lot of like asshole dudes who do have bravado, and it makes them like more physically attractive. But or sorry, like more like socially attractive.
So
But
yeah, just attractive in general or approachable or whatever
but do you
you would describe it.
but I feel like there's like a sort of block where it's like, like the foot in the door kind of thing, where you talk about like, actually getting into the relationship, having the interactions, right?
Yep.
You kind For the quote unquote nicer guys, like if you don't like make the interaction, if you don't bring the energy, like people, it's gonna take a long time. Like dating is, I'd say, super exclusionary in general,
Yep.
because like, if I'm like considering like dating you, then like
Hmm.
if you're wasting my time, I probably don't want to be there, right?
Yep.
So
I think a large part about dating is coming off as interesting. One of the
yeah,
things that
and
the
you are
people want
interesting.
to
I think you sell yourself short when you say like when you don't like talk about like your actual job.
Sure. One of the things that I had a disagreement with the person was that when they said that the thing that women want is to be comfortable, and I don't think this is true unless you really stretch the word comfortable to unrealistic means, because so many men can make women feel comfortable. But the lived reality is a vast majority of those men who can make women feel comfortable
Hmm.
don't make them feel excited or interested in that guy. I think the number one thing is for overwhelming amounts of people is they want to be interested in their partner or have a
Hmm.
partner that's interesting, that's engaging, that's
Yeah.
fun to be around, right? It's not being comfortable. Being comfortable is I genuinely believe, and this is a problem that I have with it. I
Okay.
think people find that to be boring, to just
So
be comfortable. You
it
need to be
it
interesting and make
depends.
people comfortable.
So you're for initial interactions, I agree with you that the interesting aspect is the important part, because you have to grab somebody's attention, right? It doesn't matter if you're like a super even keeled dude. If you don't get someone's attention, then you're not going to have a relationship with them. But I would say for long term stability, people do like being comfortable. And what I mean by that, so maybe we can fight about this. But what I mean by comfortable is, do you have a stable job, a stable income? Is your life not insane, right? Like
Yeah,
my
it's,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
so I think we've officially stretched the definition of comfortable to something that no longer has meaning.
Okay.
Because if let's by your definition,
Hmm.
do they have a comfortable or do they have a good job? Do they have this? Let's say I'm a dude who only wants to date women that make $600,000 or more. And I say, I just want to be comfortable. And when you ask me, what does it mean to be comfortable? Well, she needs to make $600,000. She needs to have a PhD. This is no longer a useful term So when
Mhm.
we talk about being comfortable, we need to make it a useful term, because right now what comfortable means is, oh, well, yeah, I'm only comfortable with women with double D tits, fat asses who make $600,000. What, guys? I only want to be comfortable. That's all I want. This is ridiculous. This is no longer usable. What
I
we want
hmm.
is, when we're talking about comfortable, we need to talk about what I think really is truly the description of comfortable, which is
Okay.
safe. They're not going to do anything weird. They're not crazy. They're normal. There's nothing like like I feel
So
like I can put my guard down around
you,
this person.
you dislike comfortable because you really think it's a stand-in for, say, like 5 or 6 other categories in relationships.
And it tells us nothing, right? So you have a let's say you have a son,
Yeah.
and you're trying to say, hey, and your son goes, hey, pops, what do women want in a man? And you say, well, ultimately they want to be comfortable. And the kid goes, great. And then they go out into life. What are they going to do? They're going to try and be just a nice person to be comfortable around them. But that's not enough. You also have to be somebody that
Interesting.
somebody wants to be interesting,
Mhm.
somebody that's probably can hold down a job and do shit on their own, generally speaking, independent, because generally speaking, people want people who
Do
aren't
things.
like a train wreck kind of on their own. And shit, like these are real, more tangible things. When you say comfortable and you stretch it to this, it means nothing.
Okay.
It means
Could-
there's no usable information.
When I
in
say,
that.
if would you accept like a definition of comfortable if I said it's a maybe 3 components of stability, right? Say financial stability, interpersonal stability, and then say a compatibility. So when someone says they're like, if someone wants to be comfortable in a relationship, right? The first part is that that resources are present, right? Like you're not afraid of like not having enough food or not having like a place to sleep. So like that's like one component. But then I would say another comfortable component is compatibility. And there's multiple types of compatibility. I'd say the primary ones are personality compatibility and physical compatibility, right? That's why you would date somebody. And so for most people, I would say comfortability is more about the social compatibility and about resource management, like having enough and then being a pleasant person to be around. That's what people say when they mean comfortable. But you're right that if you don't have like the sexual component or you don't have the interesting like component, which is another thing outside of comfortability, then the relationship might start feeling stale, right? But that's what when I talk about comfortability. Sorry, go ahead.
My point is that when you say comfortable, I think it betrays the word when you use it that way, because the if you're describing comfortable as the way you described it, just say what you described. What women want is a man who isn't completely destitute financially, who like can be independent, financially, and can make them laugh sometimes, that can be very social, that isn't come off as creepy or weird, can make them feel comfortable and safe. That's what you should say, not comfortable. Because when I think a huge massive problem with the people, the rhetoric we use towards individuals that are struggling, especially young men who are struggling to get in relationships, is we say shit like women want nice guys. This is a really big problem, because they don't just want nice guys. They want nice guys who, again, are not like fucking financially destitute, who are interesting, who have all these things. So I think I'm a nice guy. I might genuinely be a nice guy, but I come off as weird. I don't groom. I don't have my job together. I don't have all of these things together. And now you're a liar, and I'm going to look elsewhere for advice. Women don't want nice guys. Men don't want nice women. We want people that meet our certain specific standards and then are also nice. That's what we want.
Yeah.
So say the things, like the complete story,
Right.
would be my suggestion.
Okay.
To that shit.
So, and if we had like that accepted version of my accepted definition of comfortability, you just say like financial and interpersonal stability, right? Like as opposed
If
to
you said it, yeah. If you said it the way that you did when you described it to me, we're big chillin'.
Okay.
But I think just leaving it at comfortable or nice guys, I think this betrays. Because we can take it away from men, because I genuinely feel like a lot of people have issue when I talk about men. Maybe not you, talking about people in the audience. Let's talk about women, right?
I'm
I've
ready.
heard
I love
plenty
women.
of I've heard yeah, I've heard plenty of women get
Mm-hmm.
lost when they say shit when people say shit like men want like just a woman that's nice and like loyal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when women are nice and loyal, they notice they're losing out on opportunities. They're like, why don't these guys like me? Why, what's going on here? It's because men don't only want women who are nice and loyal. They want women who are nice and loyal who have a job,
Mm-hmm.
who can take care of themselves, who, unfortunately, because of physical standards, probably are not severely overweight.
Giant titties, fat
Unfortunately,
ass,
yeah,
sucks dick.
right. So,
Like,
right, yeah, like unfortunately, right. There's these certain standards. But it is important to tell people that's what it is. But I think the problem is we're a lot more comfortable
mm-hmm.
saying that men have those physical standards that
Mm-hmm.
we set up, like you probably are going to get discriminated against if you're an overweight woman
Mm-hmm.
fitting these standards, then we are saying that women have certain standards about your money, your this or whatever. We want to
Mm-hmm.
say women only care about nice guys. That's not the case. Neither is it the case for men. It's
Right.
not the case for people.
Right.
Unfortunately, people have biases. If you're
And people have
X, Y,
needs,
and Z.
right? Like if we're being like people.
Sure, if we're being generous about the like for instance the money thing, it's probably for the best that most people do not date or do not or have um, preferences about like being able to literally pay your own rent.
Right.
That's probably for the best.
And
That
then
we have preferences for that.
that sort of thing, would you say that sometimes, like, if you don't meet certain standards, or like that, like a lot of people are like maybe okay with crazy girls, or someone like with that fails in certain regards because they make up for it in other ways. But I think for like you said, for the baseline, nice men being nice is like the baseline. Like being able to be
Yeah.
in a room and like not like it's like girls have guys be nice to them like 10 times a day, right? Like
Yep.
if you're just a nice dude, there's another guy who's also nice and he can play guitar or something, right? Like
Yeah.
that, right? It's like it's the bare minimum, and I think for a lot of guys, that's frustrating because they're like, hey, I'm not gonna rape you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm and I'll sit quietly and listen to you talk about it, whatever the fuck you want to talk about. But for a lot of like women, every guy will do that for them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about
And
preparing them, like, and giving them a skill set that makes them like more interesting or palatable, like to other people.
I think the very first step is recognizing that women don't just want a nice guy and communicating that to people because that's not the reality. Because just like how men don't just like there's constantly even the red pillars, but even beyond the red pillars, like lefty dudes that say, well, men what they really want is just like a nice woman. More, I feel like we're more comfortable saying that men are more restrictive with their dating habits than we are comfortable with saying women are. We're more comfortable saying men want a woman who is attractive, who
Mm-hmm.
meets certain physical qualities, and is like a good person than I believe we are to say that like women want men who are nice to them, as well as hitting certain
Benchmarks.
economic whatever benchmark we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it is a little bit easier to talk about men's though because I think primarily it's about attractiveness. I think women have a bunch of different stuff they pull from simultaneously when they're looking for people. I think for a lot of men though, it does primarily come down to looks as being their secondary
Mm-hmm.
thing they look for in women.
Do you feel like it's easier now? I guess this is more contentious. Do you feel like it's easier for women to meet requirements for men than it is for men to meet requirements for women?
Do I believe it is easier for women to meet men's standards or for
Mm-hmm.
men to meet women's standards?
Right.
It depends on the person. So I think for the most part, it's easier for men to hit women's standards.
Hmm.
But I believe that, and this is primarily the reason why.
Okay.
Obesity is a really big problem in the United States for both men and women. It seems like men don't like obese women,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that there is a significant amount of people in the United States that are going to have a significant amount of women that are going to have a disproportionate problem dating. I believe obesity is a very difficult thing to beat and to, get out of. And I think for men, they're as spoken about the incel thing. The primary problem is like finding distractions like video games and shit like that and trying to get caught up. I think it can be easier for those men to inform them and to educate them on the negative repercussions of long-term video game use and how to fix that problem than it is to solve even just the problem with obesity, let alone like just unattractive women.
Mm-hmm.
There's some unattractive. I don't think there's very many that I've seen. I personally, I find 95% of women in my age group attractive. I can literally count on my one hand, how many women I found unattractive at the college that I went to. Of like 600 women, I think I could count on my one hand how many of them I found unattractive. I so but I recognize after talking to men, this is not a shared experience.
I was gonna say like I'll find certain, it's like a spectrum, right, where it's like some girls like are like I'll look at them and like there's nothing wrong with them and I'm just like, oh, like, you know, like they look like a decent person. And then there's some that are cute, there's some that are like smoke shows, and then there's ones that are like, you know, like aggressively ugly or something like that, right, where I've never actually heard of so yeah, I've actually never heard that from anybody before, where it's like they thought the vast majority of women are attractive. That's interesting.
I just it's not, I don't know.
Is it more like a personality thing for you, where it's like as long as they're not like actively hideous to look at, like then that's fine for you, and like you care more about other qualities?
I don't think it's a conscious process like that. It's literally just I look at women my age group. Almost none of them am I like I couldn't date you.
Oh, okay.
Almost none of them are like that way for me.
Is it an ambivalence towards attraction, or is it like actively attractive?
No, I like
it's sorry. The way, what I mean is, you look at them and you're like, you look very pretty, and I'm into that, as opposed to I'm looking at you and you're not turning me off like by just existing.
I look at them and I'm like, I could see myself as being attracted to this person if I get to know them.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe they are actively hideous, and I could see myself getting attracted to them if I get to know them. That is
okay.
What I
normally when I meet somebody, it's like I'll be attracted to them first, and then I'll find out if I like their personality afterwards. You know, because you don't.
I think for the vast majority. Well, I mean, I do too. I just believe that I find, well, maybe not attractive, but I find them
acceptable,
like, to be acceptable.
Okay.
In that I have a very broad spectrum for what I find acceptable.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, I found that men and women I don't feel like are the same way. Especially the guys that I've talked to about some of the shit, they're not the same way. They have pretty specific shit, but the whole point was supposed to be addressing that. I think that there's a lot of women that not only are worried about it, but I think there's a lot of women that might fear that and genuinely might not hit a lot of guys like standard for that.
Okay.
I think generally speaking, it is going to be easier for men to hit women's minimum standard for the way men need to look, because I believe that more women fall in line with what I'm describing when it comes to most men. If the man grooms, if the man takes care of himself, you know, let alone if he like aesthetic maxes by like picking the right clothes and shit like that or whatever, I think you can hit those minimum standards. The problem where it's almost, I don't want to say women's standards are too high because they're not normal. The only place where I would say women's standards might be too high is for that like specific group of men who do play video games all day or whatever and can't who don't socialize enough. Their women's standards are going to be too high for those men, but I don't think they're unreasonably high. You understand?
Yeah, I do. I guess I would. I thought you'd say the opposite. Like, so I would say it's easier for women to meet men's standards, at least initially. So I would say that for a woman, like the requirements, right? For most dudes is like, are you decent enough to look at that I'm willing to talk to you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, at least for initial interactions, that's like a lot of dudes like start and finish. Like, are you attractive enough for me, like enough to me for me to approach you, right? But I would say in terms of standards, I would say they're the current standards required, or not required, like wanted by women,
Mm-hmm.
go beyond the physical. And I would agree with you that most men could get to the attractiveness level to be accepted by women, but the other things like the external accomplishments, like whether it's jobs, whether it's like the social capacity, having your shit together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that is probably more difficult than it is for a woman to look presentable.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. I would say that.
Okay.
But wait, hold on. When you say that, what do you mean? Are you saying the standard at which women put men at for their
Right.
social and financial accomplishments, the standard that they set is higher than,
I would.
and or sorry, is more difficult to obtain than the standard that men put on women for physical appearance?
Correct.
Okay.
Or at least I would say it's easier for a woman to reach than it is for a man to reach.
So
And
so for
sorry, like one
you go
like
for it.
like the example that I would say, like we've heard, like women don't like dating down financially, right?
Yes.
And as women make more money, based equal pay for like different like shit, like that's awesome, right? And it's great that women are
Mm-hmm.
becoming more financially acceptable. Sorry, accept not like a capable, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if the standards are still the same, for like a man in general making more money than a woman, then it's going to be harder for men to reach that level. Where there doesn't seem to be a corresponding thing for I would say for female attractiveness.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't understand you. I agree. I
Okay.
agree with that point. But and I think that is a problem that we're gonna have to deal with. I guess I had a misunderstanding. But I have talked about this the kind of the issue that the ball is in women's court, that they're going to have to
Mhm.
concede on wanting or
The
partners that make significantly less money than them as time goes on.
mhm.
They're going to have to do that because while women are succeeding more inside of college and making more money, which again, good for them to do. Men are actually simultaneously doing worse in college. We are dropping out at higher rates. We are not going to college at higher rates. We
Mhm.
are not getting educations. We are getting lower paying jobs. We are getting fired more often.
Right.
These things are happening. So the fact of the matter is, if you are a woman that wants to date a man, you're going to have to deal with the fact that men, by and large, are not going to make enough money to satisfy the days of old,
Right.
essentially.
Where it's like I think a problem and something that a lot of incels and red pillars pick up on is that it seems like at the same time where women are making more money and men aren't clearing that bar as often, like for the traditional difference, we also have more fat acceptance, right? Where it's like if the primary thing about whether a woman is attractive is their appearance,
Mm-hmm.
and we're broadening that spectrum, right? Which is great. Fat acceptance
Mm-hmm.
is super cool. But at the same time, we're making it harder we're making it easier for women to achieve like the standards, but we're making it harder for men to achieve like the traditional standards. I feel like men will feel squeezed as a group.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I believe that without being able to properly address the um, the social issues primarily around the money thing,
Mhm.
I think I think there has been and there will be continue to be a rise in like red pill slash incel or black pill
Mhm.
sentiment until we get these problems fixed and we see men and hopefully women as less of a byproduct of how much money they make.
Oh, I completely agree. For that, why did talking to you? It seems like if you're black pilled, then I'm like black pill? Because it seems like we have pretty similar understandings for a lot of stuff. How did that get started? For
What,
like
black pill?
yeah, well, I heard you got like labeled as like black pill, and like talking, you seem a lot. It seems a lot more reasonable than.
The I get the most consistent feedback I got was that the rhetoric I had inside of the video was so bad that people came away with that opinion.
Okay. I think.
If you want to know exactly where I stand and where me and you stand, we are blue pilled.
Oh, what's blue pill?
Blue pill means that in for the most part uh, what we believe that men are evaluated on is their personality
Oh,
and the
okay.
way that they talk to people.
Okay.
I would think that me and you are that way because it's like if you reach a certain like looks level for the most part, you're gonna do fine if you have
Hmm.
a good personality. That's gonna be the primary thing.
Okay.
Of course, black pill more centered around like good looking people. I'm sure me and you can agree that you can probably get a lot of great relationships if you're a good looking person,
Hmm.
but long term it's never gonna work out if you don't know how to exist in a relationship with a good personality,
Right.
even if you are hot.
And having like it's like it's the foot in the door versus like running like like maintaining the home, right? Where it's like I'm here and I get it. And I think that might be where people labels you that because it's like, hey, you're right in that you do have to be interesting, you do have to be attractive, you do have to have riz, like to get like the relationship started, but it will fall apart if you're not blue pill. So I don't.
Yeah, it'll fall apart. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the because how are there people that dispute that like being like good at first impressions or having initial like interesting things about you is doesn't matter?
There's people that dispute your speech or your personality having any correlation with anything at all. Yeah. That's black pill. It's primarily in regards to your looks, which is just looks, 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 and looks.
Okay.
If you are a boring person, you are an interesting person if you are hot. If you are an interesting person and you are ugly, you are a boring person. That's what a
Okay.
lot of those people believe. So there is a group of people that do feel that way, but
Hmm.
it only comes down to whether, and there is a bit of truth to the idea of, like, again, your speech and the way that you do things being reframed based on the way that you look. There
Hmm.
is truth in that, right? There's somebody that might come off as egotistical who, if they were hot, they're just confident because we feel like you deserve to be that egotistical
Right.
or in shit like that. So there is a bit of there is a some of that,
Hmm.
and as I stated, the being hot makes it gives you a lot more chances to make mistakes
Right.
and the reframing thing, but it's not like the end all be all. Like at
Right.
the end of the day, you can be a decently attractive guy and have really good riz, really good personality, and you're gonna be able to find a woman no problem.
Do people have do you think there are frustrations about for men because you're right in that I would say like 99% of dudes can probably get personally presentable enough between like fashion choices, grooming, and like a exercise can like get themselves to a point where they're generally acceptable to look at and be around.
Yep,
And at that point, it does become personality oriented. And
correct.
do you feel like a lot of people, like black pillars slash red pillars, they don't like talking about that because for them it's just about getting in the door. They don't really care about what like the quality of relationships afterwards. It's just about like getting the pussy.
I think the problem is they just see, and I talked about it in the other conversation. I think the problem is they see the hardest part of getting a woman is having a woman find you desirable enough to engage with you to the
Hmm.
point of sex or dating, um, and they recognize that that being the hardest point. What is the most reliable way to do that? And it's to be really fucking hot. If you're
Hmm.
really fucking hot, you can in one night get 10 women to get to that point with you where they'd be willing to date you. Right? You
Hmm.
could you could do that. That's something that you're capable of.
10 in a
So
single
they
night.
so
I've never
yeah,
achieved that. That sounds pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking
I
about.
know what you
Like if
mean.
you yeah, yeah. But like they see that and they're like, boom, that's the key to everything.
Hmm.
Um and I think that's the problem is I think they see the easiest way to circumnavigate the hardest part of dating is to just be hot.
Right.
And then so they do it that way. Whereas like um there uh, whereas I think they should probably focus a little bit more on the fact of it is circumnavigating the dating. They don't view it as
Hmm.
circumnavigating. They just view it as getting to the finish line. Not why did they get to the finish line? It's not just because they were hot. It's because we allow hot people
To
to
make mistakes.
get away, yeah, to get away with making mistakes, or maybe not even. We don't care as much about some of these details or whatever if they're hot, but you still do care about these details, and there's a chance for less attractive dudes if you care about those details, like game and shit.
Okay.
Or Riz, I should say, because game has a negative
It
connotation.
really does have a negative connotation. I don't. Yeah, I got really good at like first dates in college because like you do like I never like was in like a really long term relationship for most of college, so it was just like how do you like you want to go to the like gardens or the observatory after a coffee, like it just it gets easy in terms of
Mm-hmm.
practice for something like that because if you do it a lot, then you're gonna get better. I'd say a lot of people. It's actually weird now that I'm in a more longer term monogamous relationship. I think I'm a pretty even keeled guy, but it's still it's
Mm-hmm.
weird because I'm learning stuff or figuring things out that I haven't really had to deal with because the last long term relationship I had was a minute ago. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you get good at what you practice at. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the practice can help significantly for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I, I'm not sure what. I don't think I really have much else. Thanks for talking with me about this. I
sure.
was like, from what I heard, I was like, is Rel an incel? Like, I heard it's like weird shit.
Didn't you
Like,
say you watched a video, or did you not?
I know I watched the video. I watched like the first hour and a half. It started like looping a bit towards the end, so and the way you were expressing it, I was getting pretty mad at you. I was like, what the fuck? Because I feel like there was an incongruence with what you were saying you were doing versus what you were advocating for. Because like the way I heard some of the stuff was oh god, it was like because this knowing now that you're not like actively looking for relationships or that sort of thing makes more sense now because I was pulling my hair out because you said why should I change things that make me happy just to appeal to people
Mm-hmm.
or to go out and do that, and it's like a lot of relationships is sometimes talking about stuff that you might not be personally interested in because like you are interested in the other person, and so to me it sounded like you were bashing your head against the wall. And I was like, Rel, if you don't change anything about yourself, then like it, it doesn't matter. And I was getting mad because I was like, it sounded
So,
like
so,
sorry, go ahead.
so
Yeah.
in the context, a lot of the context that I was using, and something I should have been more clear about, is, and this got into the like the bite the bullet thing, is you need to tell other people that's how you have to be, and that is what's difficult. You have to tell other people that you have to compromise on things, the ways that you live your life, things that are easier. So for instance, what I described that I believe a lot of men go through, where they realize how fucking annoying it is to go through the process of interacting and engaging with people socially, and instead they're like, fuck that, I'm going to watch anime, I'm going to play video games.
Mm-hmm.
Telling people that, hey, guess what, this sucks, and it's going to suck worse than if you had just done it when you were 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to suck, but you have to do it. You're going to have to compromise on some of your hobbies because you're going to have to take time to do these things. You're going to have
Mm-hmm.
to feign interest in some of these things, or find out ways to inquire about these are things you're going to have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it wasn't just really about me. It was about every single person that had a similar experience
Okay.
would have to do these things, and we as people have to prescribe those things because their problem isn't going to go away without them getting the practice necessary to build those social skills.
Right, and I think a lot of people get the wrong idea from I deserve love like just as I am, right? Which is like every person is deserving of love, obviously, right? I think that's like a fair thing,
Sure.
but it's like what are you doing to you know deserve that love is at the same time like what are you bringing like things to the table that make you lovable as well, so that's just like
Well, that's similar to the problem that I said earlier with telling
mm-hmm.
men that women want nice guys. Um, the problem is that or a problem that I see with that is that we state that everyone is deserving of love, regardless, and we lose track
Hmm.
of the fact that there's certain things that we're going to need to do to make ourselves appealing to other people.
Hmm.
Like there is an idea that me as I exist should be deserving of love or admiration. And I think that is going to be a uniquely hard thing
Hmm.
for, I believe, men to deal with in regards to this, because when men look at women, I think a lot of these incel men think these women will get love just because of the way they are,
Hmm.
and they aren't taking into account that the way that they are includes the way that they look, the way that they've groomed themselves, they've put on makeup and whatever. And so there's a lot of men that would be willing and like to get to know them and date them and whatever. And but they view the things that they have to do as significantly harder. And then so it builds animosity because they just show up and people love them and
Hmm.
people want to get to. I have to get a job. I have to start earning more money, get more clout. I have to
Go to the gym, gotta
yeah,
dress
go to the
well.
gym. Yeah, I got to dress well. And then it's like, well, I got to do all this shit. All she does is show up that way. And in there and thinking, of the shit that she's got to deal with.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think a large part of it is looking at people in the eye and just going like, yeah, you're not really dating material. You got to do something to change that.
That's fair. How do you think there's any real way for us to sort of compete with the red pills in that regard? Because I think the part why that woman was so frustrated with you was like because on its face value you're like, hey, people value this, people care about this, and then it was the prescriptive versus descriptive meme, right? Where it's like you're saying this is how the world kind of is, and
Hmm.
what like people should be doing. It seems like this is the easiest path for a lot of like people to take, right? Like the dark side is easier and it's faster, right? Like that sort of meme,
Yeah.
as opposed to like being a genuinely nice, interesting, well-rounded human being takes a lot of time and effort that a lot of people aren't willing to put in.
Yeah.
Because I think we're gonna lose that, right? Because like the idea is like how do we make that like the good lifestyle, the one that is encourageable as opposed to the other one, right?
So, yeah, I think this was like the first point of contention I had with them, which was how do we um, give an incentive to men to not be abusive pieces of shit? And at the end of the day, beyond that is the question that you're asking. I think though is like just in general. Um, I think a lot of it is going to have to come down to um, teaching people about being a good person is not it is not something that is going to be fulfilling materially.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be fulfilling in that, but it might be fulfilling emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Might, not even for everyone. It might be because it isn't for everyone. Be fulfilling emotionally for you, but it's essentially what we have to do. We in order to look out for our fellow person, in order to be empathetic to our fellow person's experience, we're going to have to be good people, and that's the problem is it's very difficult to sell that, and I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there really is a better way to sell it.
Right.
I think there is a reason why I believe that we've been getting more selfish over time in just about everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been getting very selfish in how we go about dating, how we go about this shit. It's a lot of it is like me. Like, have you seen, for instance, the articles about women's dating men and men's eligibility?
Um, I only know the like the money article. Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, like the ones about money, like how there's no longer eligible men, and what they mean by that is there's just more men that are more impoverished,
Mm-hmm.
and the framing on that as if it's like a
Mm-hmm.
woman's, it's like bad for the woman and not the men that are now getting more and more poor.
Right.
Like this is how we're framing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the victim. I'm the victim because women don't want to date me because I don't want to groom myself properly and I want to do all these basic things. I want to, do the basic things I should be doing for me myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm the victim, right? I think it's a very bad trend we're heading on
Yeah.
in regards to that. I think we just have to sell people
Mm-hmm.
that that as essentially a kind of empathy
Yeah.
that people, it is really cool to be nice to other people
It
because
is.
you want to have a nice life yourself You want other people to have a nice life, and when you look out for other people and they look out for you, things are just so much
So
better.
much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just difficult to sell because people very much want to think about themselves.
yeah. I think there's something similar in regards to conspiracy, where it's like if you have a grand narrative about something, it makes you feel really important and special and powerful, as opposed to just general like the world is complicated and people are doing their best and it's not like uncaring. Because like the idea of like selling narratives, it's easy to sell the sorry like the red pill or the black pill, because the blue
Yeah.
pill is just a harder lifestyle to achieve in terms of happy. Like it's better, like the highs are higher, right? But the
Hmm.
lows might be lower, and I don't really know how. Like I said, I don't really know how we get around that aside from just giving.
Oh, selling the blue pill, is that what you're saying?
Well,
I think I
not just selling the blue pill, but because I think. Sorry, you go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
no, I mean it's fine. If that's not what you were saying, that's not what you were saying. Because I think I've done a pretty decently effective job at I've had dozens of conversations with people that have self-identified with incels or have identified with the ideas of inceldom. I think I've done a pretty damn good job at having conversations with these people and just providing them clear explanations as to why their view of women only wanting Chad or their view of women only wanting guys with money
Mm-hmm.
as not the case. I think there are ways to have conversations because I obviously believe that women primarily look for, of course, after a baseline is met, baseline I don't think is crazy high.
Mm-hmm.
After the baseline is met, they look for personality and shit like that. Because I believe that to be the case, and I believe there's a lot of evidence I can point to, fucking other people's own anecdotes I can point to be able to illustrate my point. If you look at it in a different
Mm-hmm.
way, I I have discussions with people that I think are really lean towards that being the reality, and I think it's effective.
I think it is effective on an interpersonal basis. I just think it's harder to sell as a movement because it's not exciting, right?
Oh yeah.
it's like looking at like a fad diet or a fad workout program, as opposed to being like, if you just go to the gym 5 days a
Oh
week,
yeah.
progressive
Hmm.
overload, like
Yep.
don't do anything fancy, hit all your major muscle groups, you're gonna be fine. As opposed to like do this one thing and you're gonna get like crazy big, and it's just like it's not helpful because I think we struggle with the branding. I want to talk to Destiny about this because I don't, but it's just like I don't know how like the good lifestyle, aside from like interpersonally, like what you were talking about, how you sell a movement like that, because I feel like the bad stuff is just inherently more exciting as a lifestyle, whether it's certain conspiracies, as opposed to just saying that the world is boring and kind of uncaring.
Yep.
Yeah, aside from like just like personal talking, I don't know we do that. It makes me feel like we're almost destined to
I
lose.
so um I kind of agree that it's or well sorry, you said you don't know how to do it. I kind of am of the position that if the red pillars and black pillars argue it well, which I argue most of them don't,
Hmm.
part of the reason why I believe that they are red pillars and black pillars is because I think that they're missing some kind of critical thinking process
Hmm.
that that puts them in that position. For generally speaking, um, I I think that if they argue it well, I think we will lose.
Okay.
But I think that most of them don't argue it like I personally have several different arguments that I have made
Hmm.
on the side of red pill and black pill that I think are way better than the arguments that they have made.
Hmm.
Way better that can make like I've made arguments about like women's body counts that I think most people would agree with that no red pillar makes that I think if they
Hit me
started doing
with
it.
that one.
Okay. So, do you think that a woman's body count should be a red flag?
Um, to a certain point, no. Like
Okay.
like for me, I prefer having good sex, right?
Yep.
And I prefer someone who has like good sex.
Okay.
Um,
So,
I'd
let me state
sorry.
should
Go ahead.
should body count be a red flag for somebody that wants a woman who is good at being in a relationship or a good partner in a relationship?
Um, I would say yes. if it's dramatically like past like what would seem quote unquote normal. I know that I'm not trying to be dodgy. For my personal like line would probably be if you have say a body count that's double your age, then I'm like, what the fuck? Like if because I'm a 25-year-old guy, I think I fuck pretty like crazy. Like I was a big whore in college and like all sort of stuff, and like my body count's probably somewhere in the 20s. I'm like, and so like if you're 25 and it's like 50, I'm like, when did you start having sex and how like like what is your lifestyle? It's almost like a red flag about the lifestyle, right? Because you're like, hey,
yeah. So that's my position as it currently stands for me. But that wasn't the position I was going to make. But my position is for me it is a red flag. The body count is a red flag for the lifestyle. You cannot fuck that many people unless you are outside doing shit constantly
on the streets for the streets only.
Like you're probably going to bars 3 times a week. Like that is the only way you can get a body count like that. And I don't like that lifestyle. I don't want to go to the bars that frequently. I'm only going to the bars to learn how to talk to people. Then as soon as I'm done with it, I'm done with it. Like that's why I'm going to the bars. That's why I'm doing this shit. Oh, and maybe like content if I decide to like do videos or whatever with drunk people, which is funny, and shit like that. But yeah, maybe shit like that, right? That's the only reason. And so that would be a red flag for me. What I would say is something that I've thought about that I don't know why red pillars don't do is let's say you're a woman, right? And 100 women walk up to you, or sorry, let's say 90 women walk up to you and they say, this guy was a cool, we first date or whatever went well. We had sex with him, or I had sex with him, but then I really didn't think it was relationship material. 90 women tell one woman that this dude was not relationship material. And then 3 women said, yeah, I thought it was cool relationship material, but it didn't work out. Is this not a red flag for that woman?
For a man?
Yeah. So like about a guy.
If you have to make a generalized rule, I'd probably say yeah. Right?
Okay.
But like for me, like say for like me personally, right? Like looking at my background, there have been times in my life where I wanted a monogamous or like a committed relationship. And it seems like I'm doing relatively well at that. But there were also times where I just wanted to fuck, right? Like I was like, I just want to get laid. And so I think it gets more contextual. Obviously, like rules get more complicated. Where it's like, did you fuck 40 women when you were just trying to fuck? Or like, I would say the actual red flag that you generalize for would be, are you trying to get me in a relationship with 40 women and 40 women found you lacking to such a degree that like they would fuck you, but then they realize like this guy is not who I want to spend my life with, right? That's like the blue pill thing where like they got in the door a lot, but everyone found there was something wrong with this dude like emotionally.
There's just from there, if you establish that, do you agree with the idea that most of the time women fuck men who they could be willing to date?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you agree that's not the same for men? We can fuck many women.
Oh yeah, friend zoning and fuck zoning. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. So if that is true, then that necessarily means, let's say you have a woman with a body count of 100, that that woman was open to being in a relationship with 100 of those guys, and 95 of them all said, I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to pursue this with you.
Yeah.
Is that not a red flag?
Oh, I tell you that is a red flag.
Yeah. So a high body count could be necessarily seen as a red flag.
Oh, because it absolutely
for
could.
Women, right?
And like
sorry,
go ahead.
And I feel like a lot of people on our side of the shit would probably disagree with body count being seen as a red flag. I've never heard a red pillar put it this way. The closest person who did was Andrew Tate, and the way that he said it was not in the same way. He said it like the men were taking something away from the woman. Like, I think the analogy he used was a sandwich that was everybody took a bite out of on the side of the road. Is what he said.
That's a little weird.
And that's yeah, exactly. But and that's that's not the proper thing. This person can be a great person. They could be a phenomenal human being. But at the end of the day, if you recognize that by and large women have sex with men who they could see as dating, but men don't necessarily do that, right? They could get fuck zoned, and that she has a high body count, but not a high, or even if she does have a high, if she has like 100 relationships, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Like if you're going through 100 relationships, what the fuck is happening there? Um, but if you like, she has like hundreds, obviously, a way more than almost anybody has. But if she has like 100 dudes that she's fucked and 95 of them didn't want to be in a relationship with her, then I think it is fair to go, yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah, and you're right, but and I just want to clarify for the people in chat because someone's like, why does it matter? The individual number does not matter. What matters is that it applies a broader lifestyle. I'm sure there's people that have fucked 50 people that will be absolutely wonderful to have in monogamous relationships. But if you're trying to make a general like a 10 commandments rule of like this is what you should be like looking like for being aware of in the dating scene, like just be aware. Also, Rel, your arms are you're full of fucking sleeves, dude. I see that. Yeah, looking pretty good.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. So like with the annoying like soy couch thing is like it's not bad by itself. It just might be bad, which is the same.
It might be. It is concerning.
Yeah.
That there is. It's just like a woman gets approached by another woman, and they get told 95 women said this guy was not. They didn't want to be in a relationship with him. They went on a first date. They had sex with him. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to be in a relationship with him. Mm-hmm. 95 women walk up and tell this woman this. And you're meaning to tell me that she's not supposed to take that as like a red flag? Mm-hmm. Like she can, but then later inquire, oh yeah, none of these women actually wanted to pursue like a long-term relationship. None of these women really found him very funny or something. And then it could be fine. It could be fine. It's just about that bit of information in and of itself. Is it a red flag? Yeah. But most people that care about body count don't care about it, one, for that reason, or and take red flag to mean just like completely done because she's like a hoe, and they take it to that degree. Right. But I believe that you can argue points that do sound really bad, that do look really bad, in a way that can favor the red pill or the black pill in ways I don't think they have.
Yeah, because because having I say like a lot. I'm trying to fix that. Having a body count, it does. You do have to fight through that sometimes. My partner, I've known them for like 6 years. We've been dating for about a year, right? We became friends when we were about 19, and now that I'm 25, we started dating about a year ago. And I had to, and they know I've been a whore in my past, and so like a part of that relationship was me convincing him, like, hey, just so you know, like, I am dedicated to you. I had to I had to almost overcome my reputation as a whore, where I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm like, I'm going clubbing with my friends. I'm not gonna hook up with anybody. I just want you to know I'm coming back to you. Da 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 da. Right, that was and that's something you have to work for or almost overcome, because you're right. Like people do get generalized ideas about how like those relationships work, or how people can react in those. And because again, like you said, it's not a deal breaker, but you need a good reason as to why. Like
I want to know why these 90 dudes didn't want to be in a relationship with you. Oh, it's because like you guys agreed for a casual thing and we're vibing. Yeah. But like. Obviously, besides the lifestyle thing, if I was cool with the lifestyle, then we're vibing. But just to be clear, the lifestyle of like going out enough to get that body count, like we're constantly partying or something like that, we're vibing. But I think for most people on our side of the political spectrum, I think the mere statement of it might be a legitimate red flag for people, women's body count, I think that's enough to get you labeled an incel.
Right.
I have been labeled an incel as a result of even implying such a thing.
That's weird. Because it's like when you say something on this side that might technically be true, but you have to do a lot of explaining away because it sounds fucking insane to normies. Like every normal person's like, yo, if this dude's fucked 100 women, like either he's probably a fuckboy and he's also probably not interested in any long-term relationships.
Probably.
So but I think that's probably more of a specific thing for women in regards to body count than for men, because of the relationship between women primarily fucking men. They might be willing to date, but there's no correlation. There's men will fuck women all day who they have no intention of dating in any way, shape, or form. Complete fuck zone. Right. I don't very few women have I would say have the fuck zone. in the same way
I,
that
I
men
some
do.
definitely do.
Some do,
but
like,
very few.
I've met those women. They're nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
especially if you're a guy looking for something like that. But very few get that sort of vibe. But yeah, I appreciate this convo. I don't want to take any more of your time. Also, I just want to check. I was trying to be more measured in here. Do you feel like I was condescending to you at any point during this? I was just like,
No.
Okay.
No more than what would be expected of a conversation where I'm telling you that I am like socially inept below a level of a standard person.
Okay.
Like the way that you're going to speak is going to necessarily come off as condescending because I am talking about being below a normal person's level.
Right.
And you're talking about being, it sounds like above a normal person's level. It sounds like you got good good charisma.
The best riz.
Yeah.
Look at all my riz.
So, all your riz. Yeah. So it sounds, it's going to necessarily come off as you talking down to me because in this way you do have more experience. You are better than me at these things. So it's going to come off as if you're little broing me. It's kind of low.
I almost said that at the beginning. Like, I'm not trying to little bro you because I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw some of the Destiny thing where people. Is that like a common thing online now? I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, it's a pretty well known meme now. Yeah.
Okay, it's like, well, it does sound condescending as fuck. Like, yo, little bro, you don't understand, man.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah, but I mean, I literally don't. That's the thing. I literally don't understand. And there's people who do. And there's people who have lived a different life than me. And it's about getting guidance. That's what it's about.
I mean, I'm happy that you're doing all this stuff because like everything you're doing right now like seems to like be looking pretty good. Like all your stuff, like you taking care of yourself, the gym, grooming's good. I'm so jealous of that fucking mustache. I tried growing a mustache, dude. It did not look good. It was fucking disgusting. My face, like my facial hair, the only real hair that I can grow that looks semi-okay is like a goatee, sort of. But the thing is, I don't have hair like right here between so it's not a full goatee. It's like a fucking soul patch bullshit combination whenever I try and grow it out. But like I apparently look pretty decent with stubble. It just I go crazy when I have facial hair because it just starts feeling
itching.
Yeah, it itches, and then I start like when I grew my mustache, I would pluck my mustache like while I'm sitting there.
Jesus.
I'm just pulling hairs out because I have nervous hands, so I always need something to do. And whenever because normally like I fidget with my glasses when I'm at work, and I noticed that when I shaved my mustache off, I was like, oh, now I won't be picking at my face anymore. And then I immediately just started doing like my glasses shit. Also, I didn't know I started pissing people off. I didn't know that the pushing glasses up like this, like with the middle finger, is meant to be like a diss. And people were just like, dude, why are you fucking like attacking me? And I'm just like, I just thought that's how you did it. So now I'm very like, I'm just like, I have to put it like this. Cause this.
Yeah, I always do that. I push it like with my thumb on the side.
Not the.
That's how I do it.
Just so you know. Oh, but yeah, thanks for having me, and this was good. And like I said, if you're ever in Virginia, hit me up. Maybe we can go out. I'll take you out. There's some cool bars and stuff. If you ever want more practice and stuff.
For sure. All right.
Oh yeah.
Much love, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Yep. Bye.
All right. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I think Rel's a really good guy. So we're gonna raid into him because I'm done for the day. I'm gonna enjoy my Christmas. I'm gonna call my family and everything like that. So everyone get in. Show a brother some love. But yeah, thank you all so much for this, and I appreciate it.